Chapter 1925. These two beasts deserve to die, Yang Hongwu said coldly. Sir, let me deal with these two beasts first, Shanhai Guanyue said at this moment. Are you confident? These two beasts are not simple. Yang Hongwu looked at Shanhai Guanyue and said, in fact, these two sea beasts were not simple. On the surface, they looked like they only had the strength of an early-stage sovereign. On the surface, these two sea beasts were probably one. In other words, although they looked like two sea beasts, they were actually one. At the critical moment, they could combine. Most people wouldn't be able to see this. If it weren't for Yang Hongwu's Dharma Eye of Annihilation, which allowed him to see through the essence of everything, he wouldn't have known that these two exotic beasts were actually one entity. Young master, don't worry. Although these two beasts are strong, I am not weak either. I am the Lord of Shanghai City. This is still within the territory of Shanghai City. I can borrow the power of Shanghai City to deal with these two beasts. As he said that, Shanhai Guanyue leaped up and disappeared from the spot. In the next moment, he appeared in front of the sea wall. A bright light shot out from the seal in Shanhai Guanyue's hand. Then, rays of light appeared in the void and intertwined to form a huge net. This huge net instantly trapped the two giant beasts. The net trapped the beasts. The two trapped beasts struggled and roared, but they were unable to break free from the net of light and shadow. This was one of the supreme treasures of Shanghai City, the heavenly law net. Unless the enemy was much stronger than Shanhai Guanyue, it was impossible to break free from the heavenly law net. Of course, if Shanhai Guanyue used up too much energy and could not hold on, it would be a different story. This also meant that the two sea beasts could not break free from the net unless they waited for Shanhai Guanyue to run out of energy. Waiting for Shanhai Guanyue to run out of energy was not something that could be done in a short time. What a huge net, what a supreme treasure! Yang Hongwu stared at the net in astonishment. He had to admit that the power of the net was boundless. If he was trapped in the net, he would not be able to break out in a short period of time. This was a huge net. Of course, he had the devouring furnace, the life seal, and other supreme treasures. He could definitely break through the net of law. It was just a matter of time. Roar! At this time, the two giant beasts trapped in the big net roared. Then, something shocking happened. The two giant beasts emitted a dazzling light. Terrifying waves kept churning in the entire sea. The two of them actually merged together. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They had never thought that the sea beast could do something like this. Only Yang Hongwu was not surprised at all. What kind of beast is this? It can merge? Anya Shenv was shocked to see the beast in front of him. This is practically unheard of. Tai Tulong spoke up as well. This was definitely something that he had never seen before. I've never seen such an exotic beast before, but I've read some information about it in an ancient book. It's rumored that in the ancient era of nothingness, there was a terrifying beast that could split itself into countless bodies, and these bodies could be divided into different parts. It will continue to grow, and in the end, it will be able to combine again. After combining, it will become incomparably powerful, many times stronger than before. At this moment, Pan and I spoke. What kind of beast is that? Yang Hongwu looked at Pan and I and asked, which ancient book did you read about it? Yang Hongwu was very curious about this. If there was an ancient book that recorded such a beast, it would not be so simple. Perhaps there were even more strange beasts recorded in it? I don't know. The ancient book I saw was incomplete. Pan and I shook her head and said, that ancient book was in the ancestral land of my clan. I've been out for countless years now and have never gone back. I don't know if there are any more. If there's a chance, I'll go back. Speaking of this, Pan Ni's eyes were filled with tears. We can go back. Trust me. As long as we find the planer boat, we can go back. Yang Hongwu comforted. Impossible. Pan and I shook her head and said, Husband, you don't know. Things aren't that simple. Looking at Pan Ni's appearance, Yang Hongwu's heart ached. He wanted to ask her what was going on and why she couldn't go back. However, this wasn't a suitable place. There were many things that weren't suitable for outsiders to know. Although Anya Shen was no longer an outsider, there was still Tai Tulong. I'll definitely find a way. Trust me. Yang Hongwu said. Okay. Pan and I nodded and leaned in Yang Hongwu's arms, watching the battle between Shanhai Guanyue and the sea beast in the distance. The sudden change shocked Shanhai Guanyue. She didn't expect the sea beasts to have such a miraculous secret technique that allowed them to fuse into one. More importantly, after the two beasts fused, they became extremely powerful. Their auras became extremely terrifying. They actually reached the half-step Dao Lord level. After the two beasts fused, their strength increased explosively, causing her to feel immense pressure. Originally, she could kill the two beasts, but now she couldn't. After all, her opponents had reached the half-step Dao Lord level. She could only trap them, not kill them. If they were just two early-stage rulers, then with the support of the Heavenspan Law Net and the origin energy of Shanghai City, she would be able to deal with them. She was completely capable of killing these two beasts, but now she was unable to do so. This made her very worried. This was just the fusion of two beasts. If two more of these beasts fused, wouldn't it be incredible? The two beasts in front of her were nothing to be afraid of. However, she was worried that if such beasts appeared in the future, she would be caught off guard. Or if some even more powerful beasts fused into one, wouldn't that be incredible? If that was the case, perhaps the entire sky-reaching continent would fall into the hands of those damned sea beasts. Chapter 1926. Yang Hongwu instantly appeared beside Shanhai Guanyue. Young Master. Shanhai Guanyue wasn't surprised to see Yang Hongwu appear. She knew that Yang Hongwu wanted to end the battle quickly. She had to admit that even with the support of the entire Shanghai city, she might not be able to defeat Yang Hongwu. He was comparable to Yang Hongwu. I'm sorry to disappoint you, young master. This beast is far too strong. It's already comparable to a half-step Dao Lord. I can only temporarily trap it, but I can't kill it. Don't worry, you've already trapped it. Leave the rest to me. Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed with a cold light. He raised his right hand and a large seal appeared in his palm. A powerful force was released from the seal. It was released. Tai Tulong couldn't be more familiar with this seal. Its power was astonishing. He had suffered a loss because of this seal. If it wasn't for this seal, he wouldn't have ended up like this. He wouldn't have become Yang Hongwu's servant. He couldn't control it. With a wave of Yang Hongwu's hand, the seal instantly pierced through the net and bombarded the giant beast. The moment it passed through the net, the life seal shone brightly, as if it had turned into a mountain. In an instant, it slammed into the head of the giant beast. Then, a cracking sound was heard. Yang Hongwu's attack smashed a hole in the giant beast's head. Its huge body was instantly smashed into the ground. However, this attack didn't kill the terrifying giant beast. All he did was injure him. Seeing this scene, everyone was taken aback. Even Yang Hongwu himself was astonished. The strength of this giant beast was truly formidable, and its defense was also extremely terrifying. What a terrifying defense! Young master, I'm afraid we won't be able to kill this beast when it fuses. We can only think of a way to separate the two beasts. Shanhai Guanyue said. Okay. Yang Hongwu nodded. He had to admit that he really didn't have enough confidence to kill this beast in the case of fusion. Although the attack just now had injured it, Yang Hongwu himself was also very clear about the power consumed by that attack. Although such an attack could cause damage to the beast, it also consumed a lot of his own strength. Once or twice of such an attack was not a problem, but if he continued to use it, it would be detrimental to him. If he continued to use it, the consumption would be too great. At that time, his common people great world might not be able to support such a huge consumption. In that case, even if he could kill the beast, it wouldn't be worth it. You attack this beast first. I'll see what's going on, Yang Hongwu said to Shanhai Guanyue. Yang Hongwu planned to use his eye technique to observe the situation of the beast after it fused. Although he took a look before, he didn't use his Dharma Eye of Annihilation. This time, Yang Hongwu planned to use part of the power of his Dharma Eye of Annihilation to find the weakness of this beast and break its fusion technique. In that case, these two beasts would be nothing to be afraid of. Okay. Shanhai Guanyue nodded. Then, he stretched out his hand and condensed a ray of light. This ray of light was like a meteor breaking through the sky, instantly rushing towards the giant beast. At this time, the giant beast had raised its head. The place where it was injured by Yang Hongwu had completely recovered. Yang Hongwu could not help but exclaim at this sight. Not only did this beast have a shocking defense, its recovery speed was also pretty terrifying. In the face of such a powerful beast, ordinary people couldn't kill it at all. Yang Hongwu guessed that even a half-step Tao Lord of the same realm couldn't kill it completely. Therefore, the only way to deal with this beast was to break its fusion technique. Only in this way would there be a way to kill it. Otherwise, it would be impossible to do so. The moment Shanhai Guanyue's attack hit the beast, Yang Hongwu saw a clue. Although this beast's physical body was strong, its soul wasn't very good. This beast's soul wasn't as terrifying as its physical body. Terrifying. Originally, Yang Hongwu planned to use the Red Lotus Hellfire to try burning it. However, at this time, he had already seen the beast's weakness. As long as he attacked the beast's soul, he could defeat or even kill it. I've found the beast's weakness, Yang Hongwu said at this time. Yang Hongwu didn't think that the soul of this beast was the same as its body. If that was the case, then it would be terrifying. Yang Hongwu didn't think that the soul of this beast was the same as its body. If that was the case, then it would be terrifying. Young master, you found a way to separate it? Shanhai Guanyue was a little surprised and asked. If he could really find the beast's weakness, it would be a huge surprise and a huge breakthrough. After all, this was a mutated beast. The beasts were probably the vanguard of the sea race's strange beasts. They were just probing attacks. They were equivalent to human scouts. They were only here to explore the path. The real main force was still behind them and hadn't caught up yet. In this world, the sea area was huge, several times wider than the Tongtian continent. Therefore, there were definitely many experts in the sea area. Every time the exotic sea beasts launched an attack on the Tongtian continent, they would be repelled. However, the experts of the Tongtian continent all realized the horror of the sea race beasts. It was always the sea race beasts that attacked the Tongtian continent, but the human race didn't attack the sea race and the sea race. This was the difference. Well, I'll try, but I'm not 100% sure. Yang Hongwu said, You attract the beast's attention, I'll attack. Shanhai Guanyue nodded. Once again, he launched an attack on the giant beast. However, this time, the attack was not as powerful as before, but it still attracted the attention of the giant beast. After all, in the eyes of the giant beast, Shanhai Guanyue's strength was equivalent to the late sovereign realm, while Yang Hongwu's aura was only at the divine emperor realm. A divine emperor realm warrior was like an ant. It didn't even think about Yang Hongwu's attack. It thought that Yang Hongwu's attack was launched. Good chance. Yang Hongwu saw that the giant beast's attention was completely attracted by Shanhai Guanyue. At this time, Yang Hongwu's eyes lit up and he immediately launched an attack. Yin Yang Soul Locking Spell. Chapter 1927. This time, the soul of the giant beast suffered a heavy blow. After a few breaths, the giant beast turned back into two beasts, and its body returned to its original form. Good move, young master. Looking at this scene, Shanhai Guanyue couldn't help but be surprised. She had seen the means that Yang Hongwu used just now. Soul attack technique, that was a curse technique, soul curse technique. This exotic beast's physical body was terrifying. Its defense was shocking, and its recovery was terrifying. However, its soul was its weakness, its fatal weakness. As long as there was a weakness, there was nothing to worry about. However, the problem was that this weakness was not something that could be easily grasped, unless one had a soul attack secret technique. Without a soul attack secret technique, there was nothing one could do about it. Shanghai Guanyue was glad. If it was not for Yang Hongwu, the defense of Shanghai City might not have been able to withstand it. Catch one alive, Yang Hongwu said. Okay. Shanghai Guanyue nodded. Catching one alive for research was indeed a good choice. As the saying goes, know thyself, know thy enemy, and thou shalt win every battle. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible to catch this guy. However, now was the best chance. However, right at that moment, the two beasts actually started to swell up. Not good, they're going to self-destruct. Yang Hongwu's face changed. This was not within his formation, so he could not control it. At this moment, Shanghai Guanyue also noticed it. However, she still could not stop the two beasts from self-destructing. Young master, I can't stop that beast from self-destructing. Shanghai Guanyue was depressed. She wanted to catch them alive, but it was impossible now. She could not stop the two beasts from self-destructing. Naturally, she could not catch them alive. Yes, not only could she not catch them alive, but she could not even keep their bodies. Once they self-destructed, there would be nothing left of them. Boom! With a loud explosion, the two beasts self-destructed, instantly causing a huge wave. Even Shanghai Guanyue was injured. After all, she was too close to the beast. Unlike Yang Hongwu, she could not go straight. She then teleported away. Are you okay? Yang Hongwu once again appeared beside Shanghai Guanyue and looked at her. If this guy was seriously injured at this time, it would be troublesome. However, looking at the situation, Shanghai Guanyue was only lightly injured. After all, he had the protection of the formation. The formation of Shanghai City was not so simple. After all, this was the first barrier against the invasion of the sea race beast. How could it be so easily broken? Destroy it. Thank you for your concern. I'm fine, just a little injury. It's just a pity that I couldn't catch those two strange beasts. Not even their bones were left behind. Shanghai Guanyue shook his head and said regretfully, It's all right. Yang Hongwu said, It seems like there's more than one of them. This is just a probing attack. If there were only two of them, I'm afraid they wouldn't have come at this time. This was the truth, and Shanghai Guanyue was very clear about it. Young master is right. Shanghai Guanyue nodded. However, luckily these strange beasts have a weakness. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. Once the weakness is found, it's easy to deal with. However, the strength of these two strange beasts is still a little weak. If they were stronger, even if we knew the weakness, it would be difficult to deal with them. So, you'd better be prepared. Train some warriors who are good at soul attack. When the time comes, if one of them can't do it, then a few of them will work together and use the soul attack secret technique. Yang Hongwu said to Shanghai Guanyue, Soul attack secret technique, this. Shanghai Guanyue shook his head and laughed bitterly in his heart. In Shanghai City, there are no warriors who are good at soul attacks. Shanghai Guanyue felt helpless. In truth, not to mention Shanghai City, even in the entire Tongtian continent, there were not many people who were good at soul attack. This was the real problem. If those strange beasts of the sea race, especially those that could merge, were numerous, it would be a huge disaster for the warriors of Tongtian continent. Young master knows soul attack secret techniques. I wonder if young master can train some warriors for my Shanghai City? Shanghai Guanyue looked at Yang Hongwu, his face full of hope. Sure. At this time, Pan and I said, to deal with the strange beasts of the sea race, we should do our part. Moreover, sister promised to help us find the planer boat. As long as we find the planer boat, I will make the decision to give Sister a spirit. How about soul attack secret techniques? Thank you, Sister. Shanhai Guanyue was overjoyed. As long as Pan and I promised, she was not worried that Yang Hongwu would not agree. In truth, after spending some time together, Shanhai Guanyue had some understanding of Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu doted on Pan and I a lot. As long as she agreed, Yang Hongwu would not go back on his word. Shanhai Guanyue had enough. He was confident. As long as he could get the soul attack secret techniques, he would be able to deal with such strange beasts if he encountered them again. Okay, now that the strange beasts of the sea race have been dealt with, let's go to that small island. Yang Hongwu said, we can't afford to waste time. Yes, young master, I will get people to start the warship immediately. As he said that, Shanhai Guanyue ordered people to start the warship. Yang Hongwu and his group entered the warship. The warship was very fast and was fully equipped. There were many seals on the warship. These seals had a very strong defensive power. However, there were no seals on the warship. However, Yang Hongwu saw it. If he could modify the restriction inscriptions on the warship, the strength of the warship would increase by several times. I can modify this warship, Lin Feng said. Yang Hongwu said. After all, it would take some time to sail in this sea area. If the defensive power of the warship was too weak, it would be troublesome if it encountered any problems. Yang Hongwu didn't want to fly in this sea area without a warship. This sea area was not an ordinary sea area. The seawater in this sea area was highly corrosive. This was also the reason why most people didn't want to enter this sea area. Generally speaking, Yang Hongwu didn't want to fly in this sea area. When people entered this sea region, their strength would be greatly reduced. Unless they had a water attribute physique or cultivated water attribute secret techniques, they would be able to come and go freely and display their full strength. Chapter 1928. Then I'll have to trouble you. Since Yang Hongwu said so, he naturally had confidence. If he could really modify the warship and increase its power, it would be great. Moreover, Shanhai Guanyue also believed that Yang Hongwu would not lose face. After all, if he failed, it would be shameful. At this level of cultivation, face was very important. For experts, losing face was not a small matter. For experts, face was sometimes comparable to life. Even if they had to fight to the death, they could not lose face. Because of this, Shanhai Guanyue believed that Yang Hongwu would not joke about this matter. Yang Hongwu came to the control center of the warship and saw the restriction inscriptions in the control center. He smiled slightly. This was the main control center of the entire warship. The restriction and inscriptions here were related to the warship. The defense and attack power of the warship. Yang Hongwu's hands were constantly forming seals. One seal after another was inserted into the core of the warship. The core of the warship became brighter and brighter. Come, drip a drop of blood essence. Yang Hongwu said to Shanhai Guanyue. Shanhai Guanyue heard this, hesitated for a moment, but soon nodded and forced out a drop of blood essence. Yang Hongwu inserted the drop of blood essence into the core of the warship. At this time, the entire warship produced a wisp of spiritual intelligence. This immediately stunned Shanhai Guanyue and the others. When Yang Hongwu modified all the inscriptions and restrictions of the warship looked brand new. Not only did its power increase, but it also produced spiritual intelligence. This was a method of refining weapons, and not an ordinary one. It directly made the warship produce a weapon spirit. As the owner, Shanhai Guanyue knew it clearly. Compared to before, this warship had been completely reborn. Compared to before, its power had increased by 10 times. Well, the warship has been modified. Yang Hongwu said. Not good, there's a lightning tribulation. At this time, everyone's face changed. Because above the vast sea, there was a dark tribulation cloud. A terrifying aura shrouded the entire warship. The entire sea calmed down. The surging waves were forcefully suppressed. Who is going to undergo the tribulation at this time? What a bastard! Shanhai Guanyue was furious. They were sailing in the sea. Moreover, there were so many people on the warship. If they were to undergo the tribulation, it would be troublesome. With so many people together, they would be enveloped in the lightning tribulation. This would be considered as many people undergoing the tribulation, and the power would become very terrifying. In this way, no one could withstand the terrifying lightning tribulation. Even if they could, they would be seriously injured. It was because of this that Mountain Sea Watcher was so angry. The best solution now was to let the person who was undergoing the lightning tribulation leave the battle. At this moment, everyone looked at each other and shook their heads. No one is undergoing tribulation. No one is transcending the tribulation. Are you kidding me? What's up with the tribulation cloud in the sky? Don't tell me that there's a strong sea race beast undergoing the tribulation under the sea? Using the lightning tribulation to deal with us? Shanhai Guanyue's eyes flashed coldly. At this time, there were still people who dared to hide it. He was furious. I won't believe such lies. If you don't tell me and I find out, you will bear the consequences. You will suffer my wrath. City Lord, there's really no one undergoing the tribulation. Everyone on the warship explained bitterly. We don't want to die. Don't blame them, Yang Hongwu said. It's not their fault. They aren't the ones who are transcending the tribulation. It's not them. Sir, you know who it is? Could it be that there's a sea race beast plotting against us? Shanhai Guanyue's face changed. If it was really a sea race beast plotting against them, it would be much scarier than the warriors on the warship undergoing the tribulation. No, it's this warship that's undergoing the tribulation. Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, This warship has been upgraded by me and has become extremely powerful. It's like refining weapons. If a powerful weapon is refined, it will attract the lightning tribulation. It's the same for the warship. This is not an ordinary lightning tribulation, but a weapon tribulation. A weapon refining tribulation? That's right. Yang Hongwu nodded and said, This is already a top-grade supreme treasure. I have to admit that the materials used to make this warship are really good. Moreover, after so many years, this warship has already been tainted with spirituality, which is why it was able to give birth to an artifact spirit. With the addition of my inscriptions and restrictions, this warship can evolve and become what it is today. This is unbelievable. Everyone was stunned. The warship was huge, and its material was special. No one had ever refined a warship into a supreme treasure. It was not that no one had ever thought of it, but it was impossible. It seemed that it was because of the restrictions of the laws of this world. Such a warship, but Yang Hongwu had done it. It's true, it's true. It's not someone undergoing the tribulation, nor is it a plot by the sea race beasts. It's the warship that's undergoing the tribulation. At this moment, Shanhai Guanyue also understood. Because she understood the meaning of the warship. She also got the news from the warship. If it couldn't pass the tribulation, this warship would be destroyed and turned into ashes. However, if it passed the tribulation, this warship would soar into the sky, and its strength would increase by another level. In reality, this warship was equivalent to a late-stage sovereign expert. Moreover, it was an expert that could travel freely in this sea region and display its strongest combat strength. This was definitely a huge improvement for Shanhai City. Young master, this tribulation is probably difficult to pass. If there are so many of us, we won't be able to pass it. Shanhai Guanyue looked at Yang Hongwu and said, Young master, do you have any ideas? If that's the case, I'm afraid we won't be able to pass the tribulation. We'll all die here. It's okay, it's just a tribulation. I can deal with it, Yang Hongwu said as he floated up and flew towards the tribulation clouds. Crazy, this is crazy. Does he want to directly destroy the tribulation clouds? This is simply impossible. This is a provocation to the tribulation. Under normal circumstances, no one would make such a crazy decision to directly rush towards the tribulation clouds. This was definitely asking for it. Damn it. Chapter 1929. Success. This was indeed a success. After the tribulation clouds were swallowed, Yang Hongwu landed on the warship. At this moment, Yang Hongwu was extremely domineering. Mighty! Mighty! At this moment, everyone on the warship began to cheer. One had to admit that at this moment, Yang Hongwu was too mighty and domineering. However, no one had ever been able to do this. Directly swallowing the lightning tribulation, how mighty and domineering was that? Just a small matter, not worth mentioning. Okay, now, full speed ahead. Yang Hongwu waved his hand. Yes, young master. At this moment, the Shanghai City crew on the warship did not wait for Shanghai Guanyue's orders and directly accelerated the warship. This point made Shanghai Guanyue a little jealous. As the city lord of Shanghai City, she could order these martial artists. Who would have thought that Yang Hongwu could do the same? Along the way, the warship met a group of sea race beasts. City Lord, there is a group of tiger head sharks ahead. A martial artist reported to Shanghai Guanyue. In truth, Shanghai Guanyue already knew about this group of tiger head sharks. These tiger head sharks were extremely strong. One of the tiger head sharks was comparable to the sovereign realm, while the other tiger head sharks were comparable to the emperor realm. This time. Moreover, this group of tiger head sharks numbered in the hundreds. If it was a normal warship without an expert, it would not be able to stop them. Even escaping would be impossible. The power of the warship is enough to kill these beasts. Yang Hongwu opened his mouth and said, "Good, we can test the power of the warship." Shanghai Guanyue nodded. Attack these beasts. After receiving Shanghai Guanyue's order, the martial artist shouted, "Attack! Attack!" After the order to attack was given, the two cannons on the warship instantly shot out white energy beams, instantly bombarding the tiger head sharks at the front. In the next moment, those tiger head sharks were instantly blown to pieces. Everyone was stunned. The might of this warship was too overbearing. Their attack power is really terrifying. The strength of these tiger head sharks is equivalent to the Emperor realm. One of the martial artists took a deep breath. If this had been in the past, it would have been absolutely impossible. Although this warship was powerful, it was simply impossible. It could kill an Emperor-level tiger head shark with one shot. Its power is astonishing. Young master, if this warship were to unleash its full power, how powerful would it be? Shanghai Guanyue looked at Yang Hongwu and said, "After all, the battleship was modified by Yang Hongwu, and its power was not known yet. There were tests, but Yang Hongwu should have known about it. It's the strongest attack. If there's enough energy, this warship can kill a late-stage sovereign realm expert," Yang Hongwu said. Hearing this, Shanghai Guanyue could not help but suck in a cold breath. In the past, the possibility of such a warship killing a sovereign-level beast wasn't high. In a battle, the most important thing was still the strength of the experts on the warship. Their strength was enough to deal with the powerful beast. But now, the situation was different. But now, the power of this warship alone was enough to kill a late-stage sovereign realm exotic beast. How could Shanghai Guanyue not be shocked? "Young master, are you speaking the truth?" Shanghai Guanyue asked. If this was true, it would be too shocking. If more warships like this could be modified, then the human race of the Tongtian continent would no longer have to worry about the exotic beasts in the vast sea. Although the Tongtian continent was only one of the planes in Lord Taoist Zhiga's Zhiga Divine Palace, this plane had become the foundation of many martial artists. For many people, this was their root. Then, moreover, no matter what plane or world, the human race and the exotic beasts were always at odds. Just like the human race and the demon race, they were also at odds. As the saying goes, those who are not of our race must have different hearts. As long as they were not of the human race, they could not coexist. This was the case for the human race and the exotic beast. Of course it's true. Moreover, the power of the warship is not limited to what you see. Charge, don't attack. Charge directly, Yang Hongwu said at this time. This. Young master, is this feasible? This time, the martial artists on the warship were very worried. Charging directly was a little too crazy. This was not using cannons to open a path, but directly using the warship. Although the warship's power was astonishing, charging directly meant that the entire warship would have to bear the crazy attacks of the tiger head sharks. City Lord. At this time, the warriors on the warship looked at Shanhai Guanyu. This time, they did not dare to make the decision. They had to obey Shanhai Guanyue's orders. After all, Shanhai Guanyue was the one who made the decision. Shanhai Guanyue was the true master of this warship. Young master's idea is my idea, Shanhai Guanyue said. In fact, she did not need anyone to drive the warship. She only needed a thought. She could even let the spirit of the warship control it. However, she did not want to expose the power of the warship. This warship was now equivalent to another powerful trump card of hers. Especially in the sea, this warship could be said to be invincible. This was because, at the very least, there was no warship in the Tongtian continent that could compare to the Mountain Sea warship. No, now this warship should not be called Shanhai warship. It should be called Super Shanhai warship. Since Yang Hongwu wanted to test the defensive power of the Super Shanhai warship, Shanhai Guanyue certainly would not refuse. She also wanted to see how powerful the Super Shanhai warship could be. Would its defensive power be as terrifying as its offensive power? With a command, the Super Shanhai warship moved forward at full speed, directly rushing towards the group of tiger head sharks. Attack, destroy this human warship. At this moment, the tiger king shark in the sea roared. All the other tiger head sharks madly attacked the warship. Tear it apart, tear it apart. The tiger head sharks roared and rushed towards the Super Shanhai warship. Chapter 1930. The domineering aura of the Super Shanhai ship made Shanhai Guanyue extremely excited. The modified Shanhai ship was too powerful. With such a mountain sea cruiser, one would be able to roam the vast seas unhindered. If they had a few more ships like this, what would they have to worry about? They could just attack them directly. Why would they have to wait for these beasts to attack and defend passively? The Super Shanhai ship went on a rampage, killing and injuring the tiger head sharks. The tiger king shark saw that the situation was bad and wanted to leave. He had to spread the news. Otherwise, in the future, would the sea race have any chance of survival? City Lord, that beast wants to escape. At this moment, a warrior on the ship saw the tiger king shark. The tiger king shark escaped at full speed. Its speed was indeed very fast. Although the super mountain sea was very fast, it was still inferior to the tiger king shark. Although the tiger king shark couldn't stop the mountain sea, it could still escape. That was a problem. Shanhai Guanyue naturally saw this scene, but she couldn't do anything. The Shanhai ship's speed had reached its limit. City Lord, we can't let that beast escape. Otherwise, it will leak the news of the Super Shanhai ship. I'm afraid we will become the target of everyone. One of the elders said. This was the truth. If the news of the Shanhai ship being so strong was leaked out, not only would the other cities be wary of Shanhai City, but Shanhai City would also become the most feared city of the entire sea race. When that happened, Shanhai City would become the target of the entire sea race. This wasn't something she wanted to see. The Super Mountain Sea battleship is indeed powerful, but there is only one Super Mountain Sea battleship. No matter how powerful it is, there is only one Super Mountain Sea battleship. Looking at the Tiger King shark getting further and further away, Shan Hai Guanyue couldn't do anything. She looked at Yang Hongwu. Maybe he had a way. Young master, can we kill that Tiger King shark? Shan Hai Guanyue looked at Yang Hongwu and asked. Yes. Yang Hongwu smiled and said, let's go. Just as Yang Hongwu's voice fell, the Mountain Sea ship suddenly appeared in front of the Tiger King shark and heavily slammed into its body. The Tiger King shark's body was instantly sent flying. This sudden change left everyone dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it at all. The distance between the Mountain Sea battleship and the Tiger King shark was very far, at least several hundred feet. But in the blink of an eye, the Mountain Sea battleship appeared in front of the Tiger King shark and gave it a heavy blow. This was simply inexplicable. Shanghai's ship had the ability of space jump? As the Shan Hai Guanyue, she knew that it was impossible. If the Shanghai ship had such an ability, how would she not know about it? Since it wasn't the Mountain Sea ship, it had to be Yang Hongwu. To be able to directly teleport a warship and appear in front of the Tiger King shark, such a divine ability was really too powerful. If the Shanghai ship had such an ability, then it would be invincible. Not only chasing people, but also escaping, it was heaven-defying. Young master, did you do this? Shan Hai Guanyue looked at Yang Hongwu and said. Yang Hongwu nodded. This beast's core is useful to me. Yang Hongwu said. This Tiger King shark was at least a Dominator-level beast. After all, Dominator-level beasts were very rare. Their core was of great help to Yang Hongwu. It could be used to set up a formation. It was a top-grade energy source. Without a spiritual vein, Yang Hongwu didn't want to waste the power of the common people's great world to set up a formation. If he had enough beast cores, then it would be great. Young master, do you need beast cores? Shan Hai Guanyue heard and said, I have a few here. As he spoke, Mountain Sea Watcher Moon took out 3 beast cores. 2 of the 3 beast cores were Dominator class. Yang Hongwu didn't stand on ceremony and took them. After killing these Tiger King sharks, the ship quickly came to a small island. Yang Hongwu looked at the small island from afar. This small island was filled with a mysterious energy. This small island didn't seem so simple. There seemed to be a powerful seal under the island. Who knows what kind of existence was sealed? Young master, we're here. This is the small island. In truth, this small island didn't seem very eye-catching. If it wasn't for the broken buildings on the island, it would be a deserted island. This small island isn't simple. Yang Hongwu said to the 2 girls, you 2 stay on the ship. I'll go down and take a look. This is just an ordinary small island. There shouldn't be any danger, right? Pan and I said. Young master, this island is not that mysterious, right? Although this was where the ancient teleportation formation of Shanghai City was located and was an important military area, ever since the ancient teleportation formation was destroyed, this place was abandoned. Furthermore, this island is so small that it can't be used. Moreover, it isn't an important place. There shouldn't be any problems. Shan Hai Guanyue said. However, since Yang Hongwu said that, Shan Hai Guanyue couldn't help but frown. No. Yang Hongwu said, Nini, you must listen. Don't make me worry. Seeing Yang Hongwu so serious, Pan and I and Anya Shenv didn't insist. Yang Hongwu never spoke without thinking. Since he said that, then there was definitely a problem. Then husband, you must be careful. Yang Hongwu nodded. Therefore, Yang Hongwu, Shan Hai Guanyue, and a few other Shanghai city cultivators set foot on the deserted island. He originally wanted to open his Dharma Eye of Annihilation to check it out, but he had a bad feeling. There seemed to be something here that could restrict his Dharma Eye of Annihilation. This was something Yang Hongwu had never encountered before, so he didn't use his Dharma Eye of Annihilation. According to what Yang Hongwu knew, the Dharma Eye of Annihilation was the most powerful divine eye in the universe, but it wasn't impossible to restrain it. The nemesis of the Dharma Eye of Annihilation was a terrifying ancient mutated beast. This ancient mutated beast fed on the Dharma Eye of Annihilation. This mutated beast fed on it. In fact, it wasn't just the Dharma Eye of Annihilation. Most of the divine eyes in the universe were food for this mutated beast. Chapter 1931. After stepping on the island, Yang Hongwu felt that there was a special rhythm on the island. This special rhythm was like the heartbeat of a human heartbeat. Thinking of this, Yang Hongwu was even more nervous. Could this island be the body of a huge exotic beast? There was indeed such a possibility. Perhaps this strange beast was in a deep slumber. However, if this strange beast was really the kind of strange beast that fed on divine eyes, then it must not be allowed to wake up. Without absolute certainty, it was better to be careful. Young master, this is the array formation. Soon, they came to a relic. This relic was where the remnants of the ancient formation were. Shanhai Guanyu pointed at the destroyed formation and said to Yang Hongwu, "Yes, it is indeed a teleportation formation." Yang Hongwu inspected it. This formation was indeed an ancient teleportation formation. It was very mysterious. No wonder ordinary people could not repair it. The core of this formation had been destroyed. In order to repair this array formation, a spatial array disk must be made. This spatial array disk was not an ordinary one. Ordinary people would not be able to make it. Moreover, the materials needed were also very precious. In addition, the method used to make this formation was very mysterious. Therefore, it was very difficult to repair this ancient teleportation formation. Not only that, but this teleportation formation could only send people to the chaotic astral ocean. Spending such a huge price to set up a teleportation formation that could only send people to the chaotic astral ocean was too great a price to pay. It wasn't worth it. Master, can this teleportation formation really be repaired? Shanhai Guanyu looked at Yang Hongwu and asked. Her eyes were full of expectation. She hated Yi Tianxing to the core. It can be repaired. Yang Hongwu said, although it is a little troublesome, it is not impossible. But I am worried about this island. Master, what are you worried about? Mountain Sea Watcher was not like Yang Hongwu, who could not feel the strangeness of this island. It was because of this that she felt strange that Yang Hongwu was so nervous about this island. Even though she knew that Yang Hongwu was incomparably powerful, she still doubted what he said. She even guessed that Yang Hongwu was a little too nervous, and because of some special reasons, he had given birth to an inner demon. You don't understand. Yang Hongwu sighed. I hope my guess is wrong. Previously, he did feel a bad premonition. This feeling made him very uncomfortable. However, at this time that feeling disappeared. However, Yang Hongwu was certain that this was not an illusion. With his cultivation at such a level, how could he casually have an illusion? Unless something went wrong during cultivation and an inner demon was born. However, it was impossible for Yang Hongwu to have an inner demon. Since it was not an inner demon, it meant that his previous feeling was real. Prepare the things needed to set up the formation. I want to repair the formation. Yang Hongwu said to Mountain Sea Watcher Moon. Some of the materials needed to set up the formation needed to be prepared. Yang Hongwu did not have them, but Mountain Sea Watcher Moon had them. The huge Shanghai city did not lack such materials. Yes, master. While Mountain Sea Watcher Moon was preparing the things, Yang Hongwu began to refine the space array disk. This space array disk was the key to this teleportation formation. There could not be any mistake. If it was an ordinary person refining it, there would be no guarantee that there would not be any problems. However, to Yang Hongwu, there was definitely no mistake. Yang Hongwu raised his hands slightly, and a ball of flame danced in his palms. The oars changed shape under the heat of the flame, and Yang Hongwu formed a series of hand seals. These hand seals were Dao talismans. Runes were engraved. At this moment, Yang Hongwu merged the power of space into the runes. After a while, a formation disk was formed. Finally, Yang Hongwu took out the core of a space beast and inserted it into the formation disk. At this moment, the formation disk seemed to have come alive, emitting a powerful and mysterious aura. Go! After doing all this, Yang Hongwu struck the formation disk with spiritual power. Then, the formation disk flew out and landed at the original core of the formation. The moment the formation disk entered the core of the formation, the entire island shone like a small sun. The formation was repaired once again. The formation is repaired. It's really repaired. Mountain Sea Watcher Moon muttered to herself. She had invited many powerful formation masters to repair this teleportation formation. However, none of them could do it. Now Yang Hongwu had done it. Moreover, it seemed that he didn't need to do it at all. The ancient teleportation array had been repaired in a short amount of time and at a great cost. However, no one knew if this transmission array could accurately send them to the chaotic astral ocean before they tried it. It would be troublesome if they were sent to the wrong place. Therefore, they still needed to confirm it. However, it wasn't difficult to confirm the location of the teleportation formation. Mountain Sea Watcher Moon, come and check if the location of the teleportation formation is correct. Yang Hongwu waved his hand and said to Mountain Sea Watcher Moon. After all, he didn't know where the chaotic star ocean was. This formation was completely based on the original formation that had been destroyed. Therefore, Yang Hongwu wasn't sure if the specific location was accurate or not. However, Mountain Sea Watcher Moon was willing to accept this. However, Mountain Sea Watcher Moon must know. Mountain Sea Watcher Moon nodded and came to the side of the formation. She used her spiritual power to enter the formation. After a while, Mountain Sea Watcher Moon opened her eyes and said, "Yes, young master. The location of the teleportation formation is in the chaotic astral sea. Since the location is correct, let's leave and go to the chaotic astral sea." Yang Hongwu was overjoyed and said, "This island was very strange." Yang Hongwu didn't want to stay here for too long. He couldn't wait to open the teleportation formation and enter the chaotic astral sea. After everyone got off the warship, Mountain Sea Watcher Moon waved her hand and the Supermountain Sea warship entered her body. Except for a few people who stayed outside the formation, the others entered the formation. Chapter 1932. However, Yang Hongwu didn't know what was happening on the island. At this moment, they had been teleported to another deserted island. This island was located in the chaotic astral ocean. Everyone felt the sky and earth spinning. The next moment, they appeared on a deserted island. However, this deserted island was surrounded by a vast sea. But they could vaguely see an ancient city in the distance. Yes, it's here. This deserted island is where the teleportation formation used to be. Over there is a city on the sea in the chaotic astral ocean, Tianxing City. Tianxing is the city lord of Tianxing City. If it wasn't for my help, this city wouldn't have the status it has today. Speaking of this, Shanhai Guanyue's eyes flashed coldly. In the chaotic astral ocean, there were many forces. Tianxing City was one of the many small forces in the chaotic astral ocean. Now, Tianxing City could become one of the big cities in the chaotic astral ocean. If it wasn't for Shanhai Guanyue, it wouldn't have been possible. However, she didn't expect that Tianxing would betray her and injure her. He escaped and returned to Tianxing City. What was worse was that he destroyed the teleportation formation. In fact, Shanhai Guanyue didn't understand why Tianxing would do that. Why did he betray her? This was a thorn in her heart. If it weren't for this, her cultivation would have broken through long ago. It was precisely because of these distracting thoughts that her cultivation had been stuck at the late stage of the sovereign realm. Moreover, she had been unable to break through all this time. She couldn't break through. In fact, when Yang Hongwu entered Shanghai City, although she had a great chance of breaking through, she could also fail. After all, it wasn't the first time she had failed to break through. After entering the chaotic astral ocean, she felt the aura of Tianxing City and Yi Tianxing. She couldn't be more familiar with Yi Tianxing's aura. That bastard is in Tianxing City, which is that city. However, that bastard should have already sensed my aura. Shanhai Guanyue said. She could feel Yi Tianxing's aura. There was no reason why Yi Tianxing couldn't sense it. He could feel her aura, which was relative. I'm worried that the bastard will make some arrangements. Since Yi Tianxing knew of his existence, it would be strange if Yi Tianxing didn't prepare anything. After all, Yi Tianxing knew that Yi Tianxing was Yi Tianxing's archenemy. Yi Tianxing must have paid a great price to come to the astral chaos ocean to seek revenge and kill Yi Tianxing. How could Yi Tianxing just sit there and wait for death? Yang Hongwu shook his head and said, "No, he doesn't know that we are here. I have already blocked this space. He can't sense our aura." Yang Hongwu was confident that Yi Tianxing was strong, but he hadn't reached the late-stage ruler realm yet. Even a half-step Tao Lord might not be able to detect him, let alone a mere mid-stage ruler. If one cultivated the Tao of space, they might be able to notice the spatial fluctuations. However, Yi Tianxing had not comprehended the Tao of space, so it was naturally impossible for him to notice these fluctuations. Yang Hongwu had already investigated Tianxing City. In the entire Tianxing City, there was only one ruler expert, Yi Tianxing. However, there were many cities in the astral chaos ocean, and there were several powerful auras. Among them, there were 4 most powerful auras. One of them was Yi Tianxing, while the other 3 were not far from Tianxing City. The 4 cities stood opposite each other, forming a square. What puzzled Yang Hongwu was that the cities in the astral chaos ocean didn't seem to have the same origin energy as the cities in the Tongtian continent. This meant that the city lords here weren't like Shanghai City. They could borrow the origin energy of the city, but they weren't connected to the outside world. This was a little strange. Perhaps it was because of this that the forces here were very mixed. They could be destroyed or annexed at any time. It was completely different from Shanghai City, which couldn't be destroyed easily. "Young master, are you sure? After all, I've already sensed Yi Tianxing's aura. The moment we were teleported here, I had no way of hiding my aura." Shanhai Guanyue was still a little worried and unsure. Hongwu said. "Unless he's a Tao Lord," Yang Hongwu said confidently. "No one below the Tao Lord realm can break through my aura barrier. If that's the case, I'm relieved. Since that bastard hasn't discovered us, it'll be much easier to capture him." Shanhai Guanyue's eyes flashed with joy. Since Yang Hongwu had said so, it meant that he had absolute confidence. As long as that bastard Yi Tianxing hadn't discovered their existence, it would be much easier to deal with him. One had to know that her strength was at the sovereign realm. Although she no longer had the support of Shanghai City, her cultivation had already recovered to the middle stage of the sovereign realm. Moreover, there was also Tai Tulong. That old man's strength was on par with hers. In addition, there was also the unfathomable young master Yang Hongwu. Once the 3 of them joined forces, that bastard Yi Tianxing wouldn't be able to fight back at all. Revenge was finally about to be exacted. "Young master, how do you plan to do it?" Shanhai Guanyue said. "Yi Tianxing hasn't discovered our existence. It'll be easy for us to capture him. I think Shanhai Guanyue and I should do it. Our strength is enough to crush Yi Tianxing," Tai Tulong said. Shanhai Guanyue nodded. Both of them were Yang Hongwu's subordinates. If they had to rely on Yang Hongwu, as the master, to do everything himself, they would be too useless. "You're thinking too simply." Yang Hongwu shook his head. Yi Tianxing was able to firmly occupy one of the 4 great cities in the chaotic astral ocean. How could it be so simple? Although the four great cities were wary of each other and kept each other in check, the truth was that the city lords of each of the four great cities were all different. They all had powerful life-saving means, and in Yi Tianqing's hands, there was an extraordinary treasure. Although this treasure had been recognized by Yi Tianqing and was well hidden, the aura that leaked out from him couldn't escape Yang Hongwu's senses. Chapter 1933. Although Yang Hongwu didn't know what kind of treasure it was, it definitely wasn't simple since it contained fortune energy. How could ordinary treasures contain fortune energy? Therefore, Yang Hongwu didn't think that Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong could kill Yi Tianqing together. The more mysterious and powerful a treasure was, the more variables it could produce. Just like Yang Hongwu's scroll of fortune and life seal, they could erupt with great power at the critical moment. If Yi Tianqing could mobilize the qi of creation in that treasure, it would produce an unexpected effect when he fought with others. Fortune Qi was extremely mysterious and profound. Only Daolords were able to control it, not even half-step Daolords were able to do so. The reason Daolords were so strong was because they had comprehended supreme fortune. Fortunately, it was not a complete treasure of creation. If it was a complete treasure of creation, Yi Tianqing would not have been able to obtain it. Young Master, Yi Tianqing's strength is merely at the intermediate ruler realm. Although the two of us haven't recovered from our injuries and are still at the intermediate ruler realm, we are still one realm higher than Yi Tianqing. If we join forces with the Shanhai City Lord, it won't be difficult for us to kill Yi Tianqing. Why does young Master not think highly of us? This was also what Tai Tulong was curious about. Since Yang Hongwu had said so, he must have his reasons. He wouldn't have stopped the two of them for no reason. Yes, sir. Although that bastard is strong, there's a limit to it. 1,000 years ago, that bastard was only an early-stage ruler. Although he's broken through now, there's a limit to the increase in his strength. If it weren't for the sake of being absolutely sure, I could kill him alone, Shanhai Guanyue said. Shanhai Guanyue said, 1,000 years ago, if Yi Tianqing had not escaped quickly and destroyed the transmission formation, he would have become a soul under his hand and died in his hand. He has a treasure with a mysterious origin. Even I don't have absolute confidence in being able to take it away. This is a variable. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. In my calculations, I can't allow any accidents. We must get the planar boat fragment. I don't want any accidents. To Yang Hongwu, even that supreme treasure that contained the power of fortune was incomparably precious, but it couldn't compare to the fragments of the incomplete planar boat. Although a supreme treasure of fortune was precious, it wasn't as useful to Yang Hongwu as the planar boat fragment. If an accident happened and he couldn't get the planar boat fragment, then all of his calculations would be for naught. It would be meaningless to Yang Hongwu. Therefore, Yang Hongwu wanted to succeed in one strike. He couldn't act rashly. He had to make sure nothing went wrong. The two looked at each other and didn't say anything. They couldn't figure it out. Although the planar boat was a supreme treasure, it was just an ordinary treasures. It was useless. Do you have any ideas, young master? Shanhai Guanyue looked at Yang Hongwu. The Lord of Shanhai City and I will attack together with you. How about a thunderous strike? Tai Tulong said. If the three of them attacked together, no matter how powerful Yi Tianqing's treasures were or how powerful his trump cards were, he wouldn't be able to resist. Yang Hongwu thought about it and nodded. This was the safest and most reliable method. However, before that, he needed to set up a formation. However, the incomplete supreme treasure of fortune in Yi Tianqing's possession seemed to have a special function. Yang Hongwu didn't know if Yi Tianqing would discover him when he set up the formation. Of course, the possibility wasn't high. After all, when he and the others were teleported to the chaotic astral ocean, they were able to hide from Yi Tianqing's perception. If Yi Tianxing's supreme treasure of fortune had such a function, he would have discovered them long ago. In fact, what Yang Hongwu didn't know was that Yi Tianxing had indeed felt a trace of spatial fluctuation, but it was only for a moment. However, Yi Tianxing was cultivating and didn't pay too much attention to it, so it was just a trace of spatial fluctuation. There were various forces in the chaotic star ocean. Every day, many people from the outside world would enter this place. There were also many people who had comprehended spatial laws. From time to time, there were even young geniuses who discovered the bloodline talent of space. This was normal. Therefore, Yi Tianxing didn't pay much attention to this little fluctuation in space. Wait here. I'll go make some arrangements. Wait for my orders. Yang Hongwu said to them. Yes, young master. The two nodded. Anya Shenv and Pan and I didn't say much. They knew that they couldn't disturb Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu's figure disappeared from the spot. Not long after, Yang Hongwu returned once again. It only took a few breaths of time. Even Mountain Sea Guanyue and Tai Tulong couldn't see what Yang Hongwu had done. They were both late-stage sovereigns. Although they hadn't recovered, they were still equivalent to mid-stage sovereigns. However, they didn't even notice what Yang Hongwu had done in the span of a few breaths. From this, one could see how powerful and terrifying Yang Hongwu was. In fact, Yang Hongwu had already set up a formation around Tianxing City in the span of a few breaths. It was the greatly improved isolation formation. Yang Hongwu had improved this formation many times. Now that it was set up, not even a half-step Tao Lord could break it. Only a true Tao Lord could break it in a short time. After all, a Tao Lord was an existence that mere sovereigns couldn't imagine. Without reaching the Tao Lord realm, one wouldn't know how powerful a Tao Lord was. No matter how hard one tried, it was impossible to imagine how terrifying a Tao Lord was. Thus, even though Yang Hongwu was confident that his formation would be able to stop a half-step Tao Lord for a short period of time, he wasn't confident at all that it would be able to stop a true Tao Lord. Yang Hongwu wasn't even confident that he would be able to stop it for a single breath. As his strength increased, Yang Hongwu increasingly felt the terror and power of Tao Monarch. Even Tao Monarch Zhigu was truly unimaginable. Yang Hongwu was probably like an ant in his eyes. Perhaps Tao Monarch Zhigu had seen everything that Yang Hongwu had done. This made Yang Hongwu feel somewhat helpless, but there was nothing he could do. However, this was just a guess. The space has been isolated. Let's enter Tianxing City. Yang Hongwu said to Mountain Sea Guanyue and the others. Are we going to attack? Mountain Sea Guanyue's eyes flashed coldly. Young master, you must leave that bastard Yi Tianxing's life to me. Chapter 1934. At this moment, Yi Tianxing was in the city lord's residence in Tianxing City. He was restless and couldn't enter a state of cultivation. What's going on? Is something big going to happen? Yi Tianxing frowned. This was an unprecedented feeling. There must be a cause and effect. Are those three bastards joining forces? The four great cities of the Chaos Star Ocean were divided. They could be said to be four legs of a tripod. However, up until now, the people of the four great cities had never acted. Although each side wanted to annex the other, they didn't dare to act blindly without thinking. That was because they were worried that once they acted, the other side would rebel. They would be schemed against and the gains would not make up for the losses. The one who hated Yi Tianxing the most was Luo Yuexiong of Luo Yu City. Back then, he had conquered Luo Yuexiong's territory and developed Tianxing City. Therefore, among the three city lords, Luo Yuexiong was undoubtedly the one who hated him the most. Although the chaotic astral ocean was rich in resources, it was limited. The four major cities had already made the chaotic astral ocean's resources insufficient. Especially after the discovery of three spirit mines, the atmosphere was getting tenser and tenser. Tianxing City now had the territory advantage and occupied the largest spirit mine of the three. As a result, it aroused the fear of others. Most importantly, Luo Yuexiong, who was originally the strongest, didn't have a spirit mine. This infuriated the conflict. He had a bad premonition because Luo Yuexiong was about to make a move on him. If it was just Luo Yuexiong, Yi Tianxing wouldn't be too afraid. However, if the three city lords joined forces, he wouldn't be able to resist. Men. Thinking of this, Yi Tianxing became more and more nervous. He didn't want to die. A cold light flashed in his eyes. If they wanted to attack him, they had to have the strength to do so. The reason why Yi Tianxing had such a trump card was that he had a supreme treasure. This supreme treasure was extremely powerful and could contend against a late sovereign realm expert. At that time, as long as the three city lords didn't attack him at the same time, he would be invincible. If the three of them joined forces, as long as he could seize the opportunity to cripple one of them, he would be invincible. City Lord. A black-robed man walked in. Shadow Kill, you have been my shadow for 1,000 years, right? Yi Tianxing looked at the black-robed man in front of him. Yes, City Lord. If it wasn't for you, I would have died 1,000 years ago. The black-robed man said. Recently, I've been feeling restless. Someone must be plotting against me. Something big is going to happen in Tianxing City. I suspect that Luo Yuexiong and the others have joined forces to attack me. So, I'll give you a mission. Yi Tianxing waved his hand. This information was transmitted to the black-robed man. The black-robed man nodded and disappeared. At this time, what Yi Tianxing didn't know was that everything about him was exposed to Yang Hongwu. What piqued Yang Hongwu's interest was that the black-robed man wasn't simple. That fellow wasn't an ordinary person. In other words, he wasn't a human at all. Instead, he was a foreign race. He was a black shadow mystic snake in human form. His strength was comparable to an early sovereign realm expert. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to discover it. However, who was Yang Hongwu? He cultivated the 9 heavens divine dragon technique. The black shadow mystic snake had the bloodline of the dark dragon clan. Naturally, it couldn't hide this bloodline in front of Yang Hongwu. It was because of this that Yang Hongwu was able to tell that the black figure was not a human even without using his Dharma Eye of Annihilation. Interesting. The corners of Yang Hongwu's mouth curled up into a smile. Seeing Yang Hongwu's smile, the people around him couldn't help but be curious. They asked, "Young Master, what made you so happy? Did Young Master discover Yi Tianxing's weakness?" At this time, discovering Yi Tianxing's weakness could save them a lot of trouble. This was the happiest thing. Something like that. Yang Hongwu felt that Yi Tianxing wasn't simple. This guy colluded with the sea race exotic beasts, which wasn't something an ordinary person could do. As a human, if he was found to have colluded with an alien race, it would cause terrible trouble. He might even face the hatred of the entire human race and become the target of public criticism. Only those with boundless strength who could ignore many experts could have such confidence. Moreover, no matter what kind of cultivator, no matter how evil he was, as a human, there would always be a bottom line. Even the devil of the human race wouldn't easily collude with an alien race. However, Yi Tianxing dared to do so, which surprised Yang Hongwu. He had some doubts in his heart. Could it be that this guy was also an alien race? He wasn't a human at all? This was not impossible. Here, Yang Hongwu didn't doubt that he could activate the Dharma Eye of Annihilation easily. Because, when he was on the island outside Shanghai City, Yang Hongwu had a bad premonition, which made him wary. Moreover, the Dharma Eye of Annihilation was feared by many experts. If it was known by others, it would be very troublesome. "Let's do it," Yang Hongwu said. "Okay." Seeing that Yang Hongwu didn't say what was going on, they didn't ask anymore. With a thought, Yang Hongwu and the others disappeared on the spot. The next moment, They appeared not far away from Yi Tianxing. At this moment, Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Long, both too long, had already launched an attack on Yi Tianxing. If it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to react at all. However, Yi Tianxing's reaction speed was unexpected. The moment the three of them made their move, he had already reacted and instantly cast out a defensive weapon. A supreme treasure blocked the attacks of the three people. Although he was still in a hurry, he still managed to block the three attacks. However, the three of them joining forces was no small matter. After all, Yang Hongwu and the other two were strong, and Yi Tianxing wasn't a late-stage sovereign realm expert. Even if they were strong, they would still be able to deal with him. Even though he had a supreme treasure, he was still badly injured. When Yi Tianxing saw who it was, his eyes were filled with fear. Looking at the two people in front of him, Yi Tianxing took a deep breath. In particular, Shanhai Guanyue was a thorn in his heart. He had always been worried about him. If he wasn't afraid of Shanhai Guanyue, why would he destroy that formation? He was worried that Shanhai Guanyue would come to kill him. The other person was also someone he was familiar with, Tai Tulong of Iron Mountain City. He was also strong, but Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong had joined forces. This surprised him even more. He knew very well that Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong had always been enemies. Chapter 1935. However, what Yi Tianxing didn't know was that Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue weren't the scariest ones. The mastermind was Yang Hongwu, not Shanhai Guanyue. However, in Yi Tianxing's eyes, it was definitely Shanhai Guanyue who came to find trouble with him. After all, she hated him to the core. Shut up, you don't deserve to call me that. Shanhai Guanyue was enraged when she heard Yi Tianxing's words. This bastard dared to call her how despicable. I know you hate me, but you can't just find yourself a gigolo. Yi Tianxing was a smart man. At this moment, he knew that he was in big trouble. The reason why he felt uneasy before was because of Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong. If the two of them joined forces, they could really deal a fatal blow to him. Moreover, he couldn't figure out how the two of them came here from Shanghai City. One should know that the teleportation formation was destroyed, and the chaotic astral ocean hadn't been connected to the outside world for so many years. They couldn't cross the ocean to come here. This was also the reason why he could become one of the 4 city lords of the chaotic astral ocean in just 1,000 years. If it wasn't for the fact that the chaotic astral ocean was cut off from the outside world, it wouldn't have been easy to control. Yi Tianxing's words had also angered Shanhai Guanyue. She didn't expect that he would still dare to provoke her at this moment. You bastard, you're courting death. Shanhai Guanyue was furious. Although she was angry that Yi Tianxing spoke ill of her, she was worried that Yang Hongwu would be unhappy. That would be troublesome. She didn't want Yang Hongwu to vent his anger on her. How dare you, Yi Tianxing? How dare you spout such nonsense? Are you tired of living? Tai Tulong scolded. As he spoke, Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue launched another attack. 2 powerful auras rushed towards Yi Tianxing. Both of them didn't hold back and attacked with all their might. Yi Tianxing didn't feel surprised when he saw the 2 angry men. He knew that saying this would definitely anger Mountain Sea Watcher. What he wanted to do was to anger him and make him lose his mind. Only then would he have a chance to win the war. Therefore, he was prepared to face the 2's all-out attack. With a wave of his hand, a shield formed in front of him. There were ancient runes and restrictions on the shield, and it blocked the attacks from Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong's attack. What kind of treasure is this? Both of them attacked him. Ant's attack was more powerful than the previous attack. But this time, they attack's attack. Although Yi's was prepared, he was prepared, he was prepared. But this attack was attacks, this attack, the attack S attacks, this attack TS S attack. This showed that this treasure wasn't that simple. Even though the two of them had yet to recover their cultivation, their combined attack was still extremely overbearing and terrifying. Even a late-stage sovereign wouldn't be able to withstand it so easily. "Step aside. Let me do it," said young Hongwu. "Sorry to disappoint you, young master." Both of them didn't look too good. After all, both of them had said that they could easily take down Yi Tianxing. But now, they couldn't even break through Yi Tianxing's defensive treasure. How could they not be depressed? "It's all right." Yang Hongwu smiled and didn't mind. The defensive shield contained a wisp of the power of creation. This wisp of power of creation formed a defensive restriction and runes, which surprised Yang Hongwu. In fact, although the ultimate treasure contained the power of creation, it was an incomplete ultimate treasure of creation after all. It did not contain much power of creation, but it could be used to form a rune restriction. In this way, the ultimate treasure's defensive power was quite terrifying. This was something that even Yang Hongwu hadn't expected. Although he possessed the power of creation and could even use a portion of it, in reality, the power of creation wasn't of much help to Yang Hongwu. The reason why he could be so powerful and be able to fight regardless of his level was because of the life seal, his special cultivation technique, and his powerful physical body. Now, Yi Tianxing's defensive treasure of creation allowed Yang Hongwu to see another way to use the power of creation. The power of creation that he could mobilize was much more than that of Yi Tianxing's treasure of creation. If he used it properly, his strength would be greatly improved. "You pretty boy, are you going to attack me?" Looking at Yang Hongwu, Mountain Sea Watcher, and Tai Tulong's attitude towards Yang Hongwu, Yi Tianxing was shocked. Mountain Sea Watcher and Tai Tulong's cultivation was very terrifying and powerful. However, the two of them were so respectful towards Yang Hongwu, as if they were treating him as their master. Yi Tianxing originally thought that this guy was Mountain Sea Watcher's pretty boy, but he didn't expect this to be the case. At first, he wanted to send a message to his subordinates, but he couldn't do it. This space seemed to be sealed off, which worried him a little. However, after using his treasure to easily block Mountain Sea Watcher and Tai Tulong's attacks, he felt confident. But now, he vaguely felt a sense of danger. If Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong had been at their peak and were late-stage sovereigns, he would have been extremely wary of them. However, after exchanging blows with them, he realized that their cultivation had indeed fallen. They seemed to have been injured and had not recovered. They were only mid-stage sovereigns. This was the most important reason why he had been able to block their attacks so easily with the help of the Supreme Treasure. Since the danger he felt was not from Tai Tulong and Mountain Sea Watcher, then it must be from the young man in front of him. This young man's cultivation was only at the Divine Emperor realm. He hadn't even reached the Emperor realm, let alone the Sovereign realm. How could a young man who hadn't even reached the Sovereign realm give him a sense of danger? Moreover, it was a life-threatening danger. He couldn't understand. Chapter 1936. At that time, he vaguely felt that Shanhai Guanyue had also discovered the power of the treasure. Moreover, he felt that his breakthrough depended on the treasure. If Shanhai Guanyue also knew that the treasure could help people break through, he would not be able to stop her if she wanted to take it. It was precisely because of this that he had completely fallen out with Mountain Sea Guanyue. However, everything was as he had expected. This supreme treasure had allowed his cultivation to improve greatly. Now, he even felt the opportunity to break through again. But what he had not expected was that this supreme treasure would allow him to break through. However, he did not expect that Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong would come with this young man. However, this young man made him feel an unprecedented sense of danger. How could a mere Divine Emperor realm cultivator be like this? Could it be that this young man had an even more powerful treasure? Thinking of this, Yi Tianxing's eyes flickered with greed. It was not the young man himself that could make him feel threatened. Then, it must be the treasure that the young man had. If he could take that treasure from him, he might be able to break through the bottleneck and control the entire chaotic astral ocean. He knew that there was a huge secret in the chaotic astral ocean. This secret was related to the treasure that he had obtained. However, he was not strong enough to control the entire chaotic astral ocean. It was impossible for him to open that huge secret. Kill him. Kill him, think of a way to kill him. However, Yi Tianxing also knew that with the help of Tai Tulong and Shan Hai Guanyue, it was almost impossible for him to kill the young man. Even if the young man did not use that mysterious treasure. Therefore, his only way was to provoke the young man and make him lose his mind. Then, he would unleash his strongest attack to kill the young man. Yang Hongwu looked at Yi Tianxing. Of course, Yang Hongwu knew what Yi Tianxing was thinking. This guy wanted to provoke him so that he could find a chance to kill him. However, he was too naive. You have something in your hand. If you hand it over, I will let you die in one piece. Yang Hongwu looked at him and said. His tone was calm, but it gave people a sense of majesty. Yi Tianxing's eyes were filled with killing intent when he heard this. This guy dared to be so presumptuous. Boy, what gave you the courage to be so arrogant? How dare you be so arrogant? Yi Tianxing looked coldly at Yang Hongwu and said, If you know what's good for you, kill yourself here, and I can leave your body intact. Otherwise, I will destroy your soul and turn you into ashes. Annihilate. Yi Tianxing was the city lord of Heavenly Star City, and his status was lofty. For so many years, no one had dared to be so presumptuous in front of him. Even the city lords of the other 3 cities in the chaotic Star Ocean didn't dare to be rude to him. A divine emperor warrior dared to disrespect him in front of him. How could he not be angry? He really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Does he think that he can do whatever he wants with a mere treasure? Yang Hongwu smiled. You are afraid. Afraid that I, Shan Hai Guanyue, and Tai Tulong will attack you together. Yi Tianxing panicked. He had to admit that he was indeed worried. If Tai Tulong and Shan Hai Guanyue attacked him together, he wouldn't be able to defend himself against Yang Hongwu. He felt a sense of crisis, not from Tai Tulong and Shan Hai Guanyue, but from this young man. If Shan Hai Guanyue and Tai Tulong attacked and Yang Hongwu launched a sneak attack, he would definitely die. Even if he had a powerful treasure, he wouldn't be able to withstand it. What a joke! This is my territory. Why would I be afraid? Moreover, with just the 2 of you? Yi Tianxing snorted. If you were at your peak, I might be afraid. But now, it's impossible. Yang Hongwu smiled. This Yi Tianxing was just putting on a brave front. Master, this bastard is too arrogant. Let's kill him together. Shanhai Guanyue was furious. How dare this bastard be so arrogant? Although the 2 of them were repelled, it was because of a defensive treasure in his hand. Therefore, without that treasure, even one of them would be able to crush him, let alone the 2 of them. Yi Tianxing's expression changed slightly when he heard Shan Hai Guanyue's words. If the 3 of them attacked him together because of his words, it would be like going for wool and coming home shorn. Yang Hongwu shook his head and looked at Yi Tianxing. You don't have to be afraid. I don't need others to intervene to deal with you. As he spoke, Yang Hongwu moved. With a wave of his hand, a ball of flame appeared in his hand. This ball of flame was the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Moreover, outside the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, there was a strand of special energy. Qi. The defensive treasure in Yi Tianxing's hand was a talisman restriction formed by the Qi of Fate to block attacks, while Zhou Bao used the Qi of Fate to form a restriction-breaking talisman to break through the talisman restriction of the treasure and burn it with the hellfire. Of course, Yang Hongwu's attack was not limited to this. If it was just this attack, it would be too simple. After all, Yi Tianxing was a sovereign realm expert. How could he be defeated so easily? You want to deal with me with such a small flame? Yi Tianqing did not feel any danger from this ball of flame. Moreover, for him, no matter how powerful the flame was, it could not break through his defense unless it was the legendary origin of creation. Only the origin of creation could break through the defense of his supreme treasure. However, the flame in front of him was not the legendary flame at all. He did not need to be afraid. Therefore, Yi Tianqing was looking for an opportunity. The moment Yang Hongwu approached him, he would launch a thunderous attack and kill him directly. However, what happened next left him completely dumbfounded. The ball of flame broke through his defense in an instant. His supreme treasure's defense had even blocked the combined attack of Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong. Not only that, it had also injured the two of them. However, he did not block it. He blocked the small ball of flame. When the flame came into contact with his body, he realized how terrifying it was. The flame had directly ignited the karmic fire on his body. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus was the legendary karmic fire of the Red Lotus. He knew how terrifying the karmic fire of the Red Lotus was. He was caught off guard and was injured. Moreover, the flame was still spreading. Chapter 1937. Damn you little bastard, this is a soul attack curse. Damn it. Yi Tianqing kept cursing and scolding. This damned little bastard, no wonder he gave off such a sense of crisis. It turned out that this little bastard could use soul attacks and karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Indeed, the combination of these two attacks was too terrifying. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to withstand it, not even sovereigns. Once they were burned by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, they would have to find a way to extinguish the karmic fire. However, doing so would give the enemy an opportunity to attack them. Once the enemy used a soul attack, it would be a fatal blow. Humph, this is only the beginning. Yang Hongwu made a grabbing motion with his hand and snatched the supreme treasure from Yi Futian's hand. It was a supreme treasure of fortune. My treasure! Yi Tianqing shouted. He had never dreamt that this supreme treasure of fortune would be taken out from his body. What kind of method was this? It was simply unheard of. Damn you, I'll kill you. Seeing that his supreme treasure was taken away, Yi Tianqing rushed towards Yang Hongwu recklessly. His eyes and arms were red because of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Soon, Yi Tianqing looked like a cooked prawn. His whole body was red because of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus raging in his body. Are you going to go all out? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. He did not care at all. On the other hand, Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong were worried, especially Tai Tulong. If Yang Hongwu died, he would not be able to live. Shanhai Guanyue was better off. Even if Yang Hongwu died, she would not die. At most, her cultivation would be damaged, and she would suffer a little backlash from the contract. Master, be careful. However, they were still worried. After all, they did not want to see anything happen to Yang Hongwu. It would not be good for them. Of course, Pan and I and Anya Shen were the most worried. However, they had complete faith in Yang Hongwu. Women were blind. In their eyes, Yang Hongwu was now incomparably powerful, and there was nothing he couldn't do. It doesn't matter. This guy is just a clown. He's not worth mentioning. Yang Hongwu smiled and looked at the crazy Yi Tianqing. He didn't care at all. Just as Yi Tianqing was about to appear in front of him, an invisible barrier blocked in front of him. Formation! Damn it! This damned formation! You little bastard! I'm going to kill you! Yi Tianqing roared and attacked the formation madly. He had completely lost his mind because Yang Hongwu had snatched the supreme treasure away from him. He didn't even care about the karmic fire and the curse in his body. His whole body was burned by the karmic fire, and the terrible pain made him suffer unspeakably. Moreover, the stinging pain in his soul made him even crazier. However, the madness only lasted for a while. The pain in his soul and body finally woke him up. He glared at Yang Hongwu and focused on dispelling the karmic fire and the curse in his body. Of course, he didn't dare to do it with his full strength. He still had to pay attention to Yang Hongwu, Tai Tulong, and Shan Hai Guanyue. After all, if they attacked while he was dealing with these two troublemakers, he would be in big trouble. TSK trash. Yang Hongwu sneered. How dare you be so arrogant with your little cultivation? Old bastard, you can't dispel my karmic fire and curse. Yang Hongwu sneered as he held the supreme treasure of creation in his hand. It was a jade talisman. Yang Hongwu had seen many talismans, but he had never seen a jade talisman that contained the power of creation. What exactly did this jade talisman contain? However, in the next moment, Yang Hongwu was shocked because this jade talisman had integrated into his body and entered the scroll of creation. This made Yang Hongwu extremely surprised. He didn't dare to believe it. This thing was actually one with the scroll of creation. After integrating with the scroll of creation changed and turned into a picture. Creation mountain and river painting? Yang Hongwu took a deep breath. This was unbelievable, really unbelievable. This was the legendary creation mountain and river painting. However, this creation mountain and river painting was still incomplete. Yang Hongwu vaguely remembered that this was related to the creation mountain and river painting. This creation mountain and river painting was the same as the Great Seal of Creation. They were both supreme divine objects. Although they couldn't be compared to the legendary creation Heavenly Gate, they weren't too far off. It was a pity that the difficulty of obtaining the complete creation mountain and river painting was no less than the Great Seal of Creation. Puff! Now that the creation mountain and river painting was successfully integrated, Yi Tianxing's soul mark on it was naturally destroyed. As a result, Yi Tianxing suffered another serious injury. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked dispirited. He was once again injured. It could be said that this was a serious injury. Moreover, it was a serious injury to his soul. It would be impossible for him to recover without hundreds of years. Who the hell are you? At this time, Yi Tianxing had already suppressed the hellfire and the soul curse. However, because the supreme treasure was taken away and his soul mark was erased, he naturally suffered a great backlash. As a result, his injuries worsened. Although the hellfire and the soul curse were suppressed, it was impossible to completely remove them in a short period of time. He could only suppress them. At this time, Yi Tianxing truly felt the terror of Yang Hongwu. At this time, he finally understood why Shan Hai Guanyue and Tai Tulong were so respectful towards Yang Hongwu. Who am I? Yang Hongwu chuckled. That's not something you should know. If you hand over what I want, I can leave your corpse intact. If outsiders saw this, they would definitely think that Yang Hongwu was too arrogant. Previously, Yi Tianxing was also like this. However, at this time, in Yi Tianxing's eyes, Yang Hongwu's tone was only natural. He was strong. In the face of absolute strength, anything he said or did was actually natural. What do you want? Yi Tianxing asked. At this time, Yi Tianxing knew that he couldn't defeat Yang Hongwu. So, he could only find a way to rely on external forces. Perhaps he would have to expose his identity. He didn't expect to reach such a point so early. What a pity, what a pity. After thousands of years of planning, he didn't expect that his plan would be broken so easily. However, there was no other way. He didn't want to die. The dimensional boat, Yang Hongwu said. Chapter 1938. You just want the planar boat. Why didn't you say so earlier? Yi Tianxing couldn't help shouting. Not only that, but I also want your life. Yang Hongwu said. I promised Shan Hai Guanyue that I would let her take care of your life. I'm a man of my word. Yi Tianxing was infuriated. Good, very good. Do you think you can defeat me? Yi Tianxing's eyes turned red and his chi kept changing. I know your trump card, Yang Hongwu said indifferently. You're just an alien. How do you know? Yi Tianqing couldn't remain calm after hearing this. No one knew that he wasn't a human except for himself and Ing Sha. Ing Sha wouldn't leak this information unless he was caught and had his soul stolen. However, the soul-stealing secret technique wasn't something that ordinary people could cultivate. Moreover, if Ing Sha's soul was stolen, Yi Tianqing would be able to sense it. Ing Sha didn't seem to have any problem, which meant that Yi Tianqing wasn't the one who leaked the information. Ing Sha didn't leak this secret. As for Ing Sha, it was even more impossible for him to leak this secret. In this case, there was only one possibility. His secret identity had been discovered. Thinking of this, Yi Tianqing took a deep breath. This person could see through his secret, so he was definitely not an ordinary person. Moreover, he was only a divine emperor, but he had such terrifying fighting strength. Where did he come from? Was he a disciple of a Tao Lord? Or was he a disciple of Zhiga? Did he come here just to gain experience? Yi Tianqing was very worried. In fact, the sky-reaching continent was an inner world of Zhiga. However, this inner world wasn't closed. In other words, as long as one had the ability, one could enter here to gain experience. However, no one could enter here. Generally speaking, those who came here couldn't hide from Zhiga. As for the real experts, they wouldn't come here. He had once learned a secret. Anyone who reached the Tao Lord level would be sent out of Zhiga's divine palace by Zhiga. As for the disciples and juniors of Zhiga's enemies, if they entered the divine palace, Zhiga wouldn't do anything to them. Of course, the majority of them were killed by the self-defense organization's disciples. Only a very small number of them managed to survive. In reality, Yi Tianqing was the servant of a descendant of one of Zhiga's enemies. They came here to search for a treasure. This treasure was the key to dealing with Zhiga, as well as the supreme treasure of that clan. This race was known as the Celestial Monster Tribe, and their supreme treasure was the Celestial Monster Dao Sword. When the leader of the Celestial Monster Tribe had battled against Forsaken Spear and been slain, the Celestial Monster Dao Sword had vanished. It was very likely that it had been suppressed within Daolord Forsaken Spear's inner world. Moreover, it was most likely suppressed within the Divine Hall of Self-Defense. Yi Tianqing and Ing Sha were servants of the Heavenly Demon Clan. In fact, the Sea Tribe exotic beasts in the Sky-Span continent were the descendants of the clan leader who had died. Even Yi Tianqing himself didn't know much about this. His memories of the Heavenly Demon Tribe were in a sealed state. Only after he obtained the Heavenly Demon Dao Sword would these memories appear. At this moment, Yi Tianqing himself didn't know. However, in the depths of his consciousness, there was a mission: to find the Heavenly Demon Dao Sword. The reason why he had taken the planar arc was actually to make it easier for him to find the Celestial Daoist Sword. Unfortunately, the planar arc he had obtained with Shanhai Guanyue and the others had only been fragments. They had not obtained a complete seat. The planar arc. I can tell, Yang Hongwu said. Don't even think about summoning the Sea Tribe here. I've already sealed off this place. No news can get out. Sir, you're not joking, are you? Mountain Sea Guanyue and Tai Tulong were shocked by Yang Hongwu's words. They'd never imagined that Yi Tianqing was a member of the Sea Tribe. It was hard to imagine. How could the Sea Tribe not be exposed? Moreover, Mountain Sea Guanyue and Yi Tianqing had once been Dao companions. Of course it's true. After Yang Hongwu finished speaking, he looked at Yi Tianqing and said, "Hand over the planar boat and kill yourself. I can promise to leave your corpse intact." "You're dreaming," Yi Tianqing said coldly. "Even if I die, you won't get the planar arc." At this moment, Yi Tianqing had tried many times but couldn't get the message out. He knew that he was powerless and would die for sure. Since he knew that he was going to die, how could he let Yang Hongwu succeed? With that, he took out something. It was the planar arc fragment. "I'd rather destroy it than let you have it," Seeing the planar arc fragment in Yi Tianxing's hand, Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed. Then he disappeared. In the next moment, Yang Hongwu appeared in front of Yi Tianxing. With a grab, he shattered the planar arc in Yi Tianxing's hands. He couldn't even react in time. It was too fast and too terrifying. This time, Yi Tianxing was completely disheartened. The only thing that could threaten Yang Hongwu was gone. But soon, he regained his composure. Although he was prepared to die, he still wanted to fight for a chance of survival. If you dare to kill me, you'll die a horrible death. You'll suffer revenge. Yi Tianxing looked at Yang Hongwu and the others and said coldly, "Since you know that I'm not a human, you must have seen my true form. My race is not something you can imagine. Similarly, if you kill me and cause my mission to fail, all of you will suffer terrifying vengeance." "So what?" Yang Hongwu said coldly. After saying that, Yang Hongwu stretched out his hand and a huge furnace appeared. This was the devouring furnace. The devouring furnace erupted with a terrifying devouring power, which crazily extracted the power from Yi Tianxing's body. Yi Tianxing couldn't resist it at all. If they were in the outside world, Yi Tianxing might be able to resist for a while, but at this time, Yi Tianxing was seriously injured. His soul and body were seriously injured. In addition, he was in Yang Hongwu's formation, so all resistance was futile. However, it was meaningless. He could only watch helplessly as his cultivation base was devoured. Chapter 1939. Oh? What secret is it? It's related to a Tao Lord Supreme Treasure? Yang Hongwu stopped attacking and asked Yi Tianxing. If he could really obtain a Tao Lord Supreme Treasure in a short time, he could let him go. However, the possibility of this was not high. Perhaps it was just a piece of news. The news of a supreme treasure was not very attractive to Yang Hongwu. However, there was no harm in listening to it. After all, there was no loss to be had. In fact, after obtaining this fragment of the planar boat, as long as he could fuse with the planar boat and comprehend the power of laws within, he could use the power of the fragment to travel through space and directly return to the divine dominion. Of course, the price would be too great. Moreover, fusing the fragments of the planar arc and comprehending the laws within would take some time. Yang Hongwu planned to go to the Black Fiend Abyss to look for the last fragment of the planar Arkansas. That's the supreme treasure of the Heavenly Demon Tribe, the Heavenly Demon Tao Sword, Yi Tianxing said. Heavenly Demon Tribe? Yang Hongwu had never heard of such a tribe. I've never heard of it. Is the Heavenly Demon Tribe very powerful? Where is the Heavenly Demon Tao Sword of the Heavenly Demon Tribe? Yang Hongwu looked at Yi Tianxing. I don't know the exact location. However, I've searched for many years and received news that the Heavenly Demon Tao Sword should be in the Black Fiend Abyss, Yi Tianxing said. Back then, I entered the Black Fiend Abyss with Shanhai Guanyue and the others to search for it. The Heavenly Demon Tao Sword. In fact, Yi Tianxing didn't know much. After all, his memories were sealed. You're not lying to me? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. If it was in the Black Fiend Abyss, he could search for it. After all, he was going to the Black Fiend Abyss to find the last fragment of the planar boat. The possibility is very high. I can't be sure. In my mind, there seems to be memories of the Heavenly Demon Tribe sealed. If I want to get more information, I need to undo the seal. I've tried many times, but I can't undo the seal. It seems to be a seal left behind by an unparalleled expert, Yi Tianxing said. Yi Tianxing said, if it wasn't for the sake of survival, he would never reveal these secrets. After all, it was too shocking. Why did they seal their own secrets? If the Heavenly Demon Tribe were to be exposed, they would be hunted down by the entire continent of Heavenspan. Perhaps something even more terrifying would happen. Therefore, he had to be careful. You have your memories sealed? Yang Hongwu's eyes lit up when he heard this. Yi Tianxing was not an ordinary member of the demonic tribe. Moreover, the information he knew about the heavenly demon tribe was probably sealed in a special way. For an ordinary person, it would be difficult to break the seal on his memory. However, young Hongwu was different. He had a special divine ability that ordinary people did not have. For him, any seal could be broken as long as he had enough time, even if it was a seal on one's memory. Yang Hongwu could also find a way to crack it. "I can try to help you unseal your memories," Yang Hongwu said. "This. Young master, are you confident?" Yi Tianxing was a little worried when he heard this. He did not believe in this. He did not want to die. Previously, he had tried to break the seal on his memories by force, but he was almost seriously injured and even lost part of his memories. Therefore, after that, he didn't dare to try to break the seal by force anymore. After all, this was not a joke. However, now that Yang Hongwu had said so, he could not refuse. If he refused, Yang Hongwu would not let him go. However, if he agreed, it was too risky for him. He did not want to die. "You don't want to agree?" Yang Hongwu looked at him coldly and said, "It doesn't matter if you don't agree. For me, it's just a treasure. Moreover, it's not something that has much hope. I really don't care." "That's right. If you don't agree, die," Shanhai Guanyue said. "Young master, you promised me that you would let me deal with Yi Tianxing." Shanhai Guanyue looked at Yi Tianxing with undisguised hatred. Now that she knew Yi Tianxing's identity, she hated him even more. Tai Tulong, who was standing at the side, was also full of threats. Once Yang Hongwu opened his mouth, Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong would probably tear him to pieces. Yi Tianxing smiled bitterly. How could he be so stupid? Of all the things he could say, he had to say it out loud. Now, he had gotten himself caught in a trap of his own making. He was very clear about the danger of breaking the seal. Once something happened, once the seal was broken, it would not be a small problem. "Young master, I agree." After hesitating for a while, he finally agreed. "However, young master needs to promise me one thing. Otherwise, I would rather die. I would rather die together with you. Then you can go to hell." Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed coldly. A huge seal appeared in his hand and was about to smash it towards Yi Tianxing. Yi Tianxing's soul almost left his body when he saw this scene. This huge seal was filled with terrifying power. He was afraid that he would be completely dead under this attack. Not even his bones would be left behind. Even his soul would be obliterated. This huge seal was definitely a weapon. The current him would definitely not be able to resist such a powerful treasure. "Wait, young master. I agree. I agree," Yi Tianxing shouted loudly. Even though he was very unwilling, he had no choice but to agree because he didn't want to die. However, at this time, although he said so, he still had a plan in mind. If Yang Hongwu was trapped in his sea of consciousness, wouldn't he have a chance? As a special foreign race, Yi Tianxing's identity was special. The power of his bloodline was also very special. If it wasn't for his special talent, he wouldn't have disguised himself as a human and hid among the humans. This came from his special talent, camouflage. This special talent allowed him to disguise his soul. In other words, as long as he came into contact with a person's soul and devoured a part of it, he would be able to disguise himself as that person's soul. In fact, Yi Tianxing had devoured the original Yi Tianxing. A part of Yi Tianxing's soul had become like this. Chapter 1940. Although he was helpless, he still had to let go of his mind. For any warrior, it was very dangerous to let go of their mind and let someone they couldn't absolutely trust to check on them. Even if it was their own flesh and blood, they might not be able to truly trust them. However, Yi Tianxing had no choice because he didn't want to die. If he didn't let go of his mind, he would die. Since he didn't want to die, he could only listen to Yang Hongwu and let him check on him. After Yi Tianqing opened his mind, Yang Hongwu instantly invaded his sea of consciousness. After entering Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness, Yang Hongwu knew that this guy must be scheming against him. In the outside world, Yi Tianqing was not his opponent at all because he had too many means and was too powerful. However, it was different when he entered Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. That was his territory. For a warrior, when someone invaded his sea of consciousness, in fact, danger and opportunity coexisted. For the intruder, there were advantages and disadvantages. If the difference in strength was too great, after invading the sea of consciousness, it would cause great harm to the intruder and even directly seize his body. However, for a weak person, once he invaded the sea of consciousness of a warrior who was much stronger than him, it was simply courting death. Of course, if it was just a scheme, it would be a disaster for the intruder if he launched an attack at the moment when the intruder opened his mind. Of course, before Yang Hongwu's consciousness entered his sea of consciousness, Yi Tianqing would not make a move. He also wanted to see if Yang Hongwu could really open his memory seal. If possible, he also wanted to know what was going on. He wanted to see what was going on in his sealed memory. He was very curious about this. Although the memory seal could be unsealed bit by bit, it was too slow for him. There were many things he did not know at all. He did not even know where he came from. If he could devour Yang Hongwu's consciousness, seize his body, and unlock his memory seal, then he would really make a big profit. Yi Tianqing's idea was very good, but would Yang Hongwu give him a chance? If he did not have enough confidence, Yang Hongwu would not take the risk to enter Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. At the moment when Yi Tianqing opened his mind, Yang Hongwu planted a seal, which could control Yi Tianqing's life and death. When he found that his life and death was controlled by someone else, Yi Tianqing was stunned. He did not expect that the other party would be so overbearing. He did not have the power to resist at all. He was directly planted with a slave seal and became a slave. Moreover, he found that he could not resist at all. Once he wanted to use the slave seal, his soul would collapse. Terrible, this was terrible. At this moment, after Yang Hongwu took control of Yi Tianqing, he searched for the memory seal in his sea of consciousness. Soon, Yang Hongwu found a strange seal in the depths of Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. This seal was not an ordinary seal. It was extremely powerful. The strength of the person who set this seal was absolutely not to be underestimated. He estimated that the person who set this seal was at least a half-step Tao Lord, or even stronger. Moreover, the seal's technique was very special. If there was no special secret technique, the possibility of breaking this seal was too small. Moreover, the seal would explode directly if the power of the seal exploded. Once the power of the seal exploded, it would be a big trouble. It would directly detonate Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. At that time, the person who lifted the seal would be seriously injured, if not killed. Yang Hongwu had to admit that the person who set up the memory seal was really mysterious. Ordinary people could not do it. It's going to be quite difficult. Only a Tao Lord would be able to open the seal. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. The other party probably had the same idea and was so confident. Moreover, if he was a Tao Lord expert, how could he pay a big price to open the seal for a mere sovereign realm expert? Moreover, Yi Tianqing was just an insignificant figure in the Skyspan continent. Tao Lords wouldn't appear in the Skyspan continent. This was the inner world of Tao Lord Zhigo. Unless Tao Lord Zhigo noticed something amiss and took action personally, it was impossible for other Tao Lords to enter this place. However, the other party never thought that he would encounter a freak like Yang Hongwu. A divine emperor expert had a special power that could break the memory seal in Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. A mere seal. Although mysterious, it can't stop me. Yang Hongwu chuckled. With a thought, a powerful force burst out. This was the power of fortune and the power of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. He was ready to break the seal. Yang Hongwu intertwined the power of fortune and the power of the karmic fire of the Red Lotus and then drew a talisman. This talisman was naturally not an ordinary talisman. It was a talisman made to break the seal. However, it was difficult to use the power of fortune and the karmic fire of the Red Lotus to draw a talisman in Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. In addition, Yang Hongwu himself did not have much power of fortune. Moreover, this was Yi Tianqing's sea of consciousness. Yang Hongwu had to be careful. The expressions of the people who were guarding Yang Hongwu changed. At this time, Yang Hongwu's forehead was covered with sweat. It was obvious that Yang Hongwu had consumed a lot of energy. "Husband, will he be okay?" Pan and I asked. "Don't worry. We have to believe in the young master. With his strength, he will be fine." Tai Tulong was also worried. After all, this was related to his life. If something happened to Yang Hongwu, he would be the first to suffer. "Believe in him," Anya Shen said. "When has he ever done something that he is not confident in?" Chapter 1941. Open. With Yang Hongwu's shout, the talisman finally tore apart the seal on Yi Tianqing's memories. Yang Hongwu immediately discovered a shocking secret. This sealed memory was the relationship between the Celestial Monster clan and Yi Tianqing. It turned out that Yi Tianqing was a general under the emperor of the Celestial Monster clan. He had entered the sky-reaching continent in order to find the Celestial Monster clan. The treasure, the Celestial Monster Dao Sword. The Celestial Monster Dao Sword was the weapon of the Celestial Monster Emperor, the Supreme Celestial Monster Emperor. After the Celestial Monster Emperor lost to Daolord Zhigu, he was sealed in Zhiji's supreme treasure, the Zhigu Divine Palace. The whereabouts of the Celestial Monster Dao Sword were unknown. The Celestial Monster Emperor's true body was sealed, but one of his clones managed to escape. It was the current Celestial Monster King. However, the Celestial Monster tribe had always been in hiding, slowly developing. In fact, they were born from the Celestial Monster Emperor's physical body and bloodline power. From this, one could see how terrifyingly powerful the Celestial Emperor had been. Even the weakest of these alien outsiders had reached the half-step Daolord level of power long ago. They were infinitely close to the Daolord level of power. If it hadn't been for the Halt Spear Dao without Zhiji's suppression, they would probably have broken through to the Daolord realm. After all, they were in Zhiji's inner world. Once they broke through to the Daolord realm, Zhigu would naturally know. If it was the Celestial Monster Emperor's bloodline, how could Zhigu really let him break through? Once he broke through to the Daolord realm, the Celestial Monster Emperor's bloodline would awaken, and the Celestial Monster Emperor's memories would be replaced. The Celestial Monster Emperor was Daolord Zhiji's mortal enemy, so Zhigu naturally wouldn't let him come back to life. As for the Celestial Monster King hiding in another world outside his inner world, Zhigu had guessed this, but he wasn't worried. This was because the Celestial Monster Emperor's true body was sealed in his inner world, and the Celestial Monster Dao Sword was the same. As long as the Celestial Monster Emperor didn't obtain his physical body and the Celestial Monster Dao Sword, there was nothing to worry about. What a heavenly demon emperor! After looking through Yi Tianqing's memories, Yang Hongwu was actually very impressed by Sky Demon Emperor. He didn't expect Daolord Zhiga to be so terrifying and powerful. It was completely beyond his imagination. It was an illusion. Experts like Daolord Zhiga were truly supreme expert. Other hegemons and Daolords wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from him. They were known as eternal Daolords and were truly undying and indestructible. Therefore, even if the Heavenly Demon Emperor was defeated by Daolord Zhiga, he could not be completely killed. He could only be sealed and imprisoned. Once someone in his bloodline broke through to the Daolord realm, their memories would be restored and replaced. In fact, if not for Tao Lord Jiga's suppression, the Sky Demon Emperor would have recovered long ago. Even if he couldn't return to his peak, he wouldn't be far off. Furthermore, Yang Hongwu also obtained some important information from these memories. This entire great cosmos was called the Nine Heaven Cosmos. There were 4 immortal Tao Lords in the Nine Heaven Cosmos. The Sky Demon Emperor and Tao Lord Jiga were 2 of them. As for the other 2, they were Tao Lord Sky Fiend and Tao Lord Sky Dragon. Among the 4, Tao Lord Sky Dragon and Tao Lord Sky Fiend were the strongest, followed by Tao Lord Sky Demon Emperor and Tao Lord Jiga. These 4 were truly invincible existences in the Nine Heaven Cosmos. As for the other 2 immortal Tao Lords, no one knew where Tao Lord Sky Fiend and Tao Lord Sky Dragon had gone. When Yang Hongwu obtained these memories, he was extremely shocked. This information was too shocking. These countless planes and worlds formed the incomparably huge and boundless Nine Heaven Cosmos. A plane like the Divine Realm was, in fact, just a small plane in the Nine Heaven Cosmos. It was similar to the sky-reaching continent. These planes were nothing more than mid-tier planes. Tao Lords ruled over the truly high-tier planes. As one of the generals under the Sky Demon Emperor, Yi Tianxing came from a high-level plane. However, Tao Lord Jiga's Jiga Divine Palace was only connected to a low-level plane. Although the amount of information wasn't very large, it still shocked Yang Hongwu. If his strength reached that level, it wouldn't be too difficult for him to return to his original world, right? At this thought, Yang Hongwu couldn't help but recall what had happened before he transmigrated. After sighing, Yang Hongwu withdrew from Yi Tianxing's Sea of Consciousness. Yang Hongwu waved his hand and sealed the memories in Yi Tianxing's Sea of Consciousness again. Although this seal was not as strong as the Heavenly Demon Monarch's, it was still not as strong as the Heavenly Demon Monarch's. This seal wasn't much different from the one on the Sky Demon Emperor. Yang Hongwu was an expert in breaking seals, but he was still a little lacking in setting up seals. After all, it was easy to destroy but much more difficult to set up. At the end of the day, it was still because his cultivation realm wasn't high enough. If he reached the Emperor realm, Yang Hongwu's seal might not be weaker than the one on the Sky Demon Emperor's clone, the Sky Demon Emperor's seal. As for the cultivation realm, the Sky Demon Emperor's clone, the Sky Demon Emperor's clone, was also comparable to a Tao Lord. However, because the Sky Demon Emperor's original body was sealed and suppressed by the laws of Jiga, his clone couldn't break through. The bottleneck was stuck at the half-step Tao Lord realm, but in reality, his combat strength was definitely more terrifying than an ordinary Tao Lord. Of course, this wasn't something Yang Hongwu could come into contact with. The current Yang Hongwu couldn't even defeat a late-stage ruler without the support of the array, let alone a Tao Lord. Tao Lords were terrifyingly powerful. 10,000 supreme hegemons probably wouldn't even be able to compare to a single finger of a Tao Lord. Ordinary hegemons could be killed with a single sneeze. The difference in power between them was unimaginable. To a Tao Lord, anyone below the level of a Tao Lord was like an ant that could be turned to ashes with a casual wave of his hand. When Yang Hongwu opened his eyes, Pan and I hurriedly asked, "Husband, are you all right?" "Young master, what did you find?" Tai Tulong asked. Pan and I and the others were worried, but Tai Tulong and the others were curious. What kind of unspeakable secret was hidden in Yi Tianxing's sealed memories that needed to be sealed? Chapter 1942. Young Master, why wasn't the seal lifted successfully? Yi Tianxing looked at Yang Hongwu and asked. But at this moment, he was still very glad that the seal was not broken, and he did not seem to have suffered any fatal injuries, which made him heave a sigh of relief. It was good to be alive. It was lifted. Yang Hongwu said, "But I sealed it again." "Why?" Yi Tianxing's eyes widened when he heard this. He did not understand why Yang Hongwu did this. Since the seal had been lifted, why did he continue to seal it? It did not make sense. Could it be that there was something terrible in his memory? Once he got the memory, he could deal with Yang Hongwu? If that was the case, it would be reasonable. After all, no one would be so stupid. Thinking of this, Yi Tianqing felt very helpless, but there was nothing he could do. This was not something he could control. Although he was very helpless and dissatisfied with Yang Hongwu, he would not show it on his face. His life was still in Yang Hongwu's hands. If he dared to disrespect Yang Hongwu would be able to sense it. He estimated that he would not have a good life. Your origin is really not simple. Yang Hongwu looked at Yi Tianqing and did not answer his question. Heavenly Demon Tribe, General under the Heavenly Demon King. How should I address you? General under the Heavenly Demon King? Yi Tianqing heard this and said, Young Master, I'm afraid you're mistaken. I don't know any Heavenly Demon King. Of course you don't know, because your memory has been sealed. Your current memory has been tampered with. Yang Hongwu said. Young Master. Yi Tianqing looked at Yang Hongwu and was about to speak, but Yang Hongwu interrupted him. It's impossible for me to tell you those memories now. However, if you perform well in the future, I might be able to give you a part of them. Although Yi Tianqing wanted the memories very much, he was helpless if Yang Hongwu did not give it to him. Yang Hongwu released the array formation, and in an instant, the martial artists of Heavenly Star City rushed into the City Lord's mansion. The entire City Lord's mansion was sealed off by the array formation. If they didn't know that something had happened to the City Lord's mansion, then it would be strange. The Heavenly Star City wasn't like the other cities in the sky-reaching continent. The City Lord of the Heavenly Star City didn't have the support of the source energy. Therefore, it wasn't strange for enemies to break into the city. City Lord. At this moment, almost all the experts of Stellar Sky City had gathered in the City Lord's mansion. There were more than 10 half-step sovereigns. From this, it could be seen that the strength of Heavenly Star City was extremely terrifying and powerful. City Lord. You can leave now. It's fine, Yi Tianqing said. But City Lord, who are they? One of the elders asked. Elder Song, I invited these people over to set up the formation. What happened just now was just an experiment. Yi Tianqing said, As for these two people, Elder Song, you should know them as well. This is Shanhai Guanyue and this is Tai Tulong, the City Lord of Iron Mountain City. Elder Song and the others were very puzzled because they knew very well that the City Lord, Shanhai Guanyue, and Tai Tulong were all enemies. Back then, the City Lord had destroyed the teleportation formation to avoid them and let Shanhai Guanyue and the others enter. No one could enter the chaotic astral ocean. However, since the City Lord had said so, they wouldn't say anything. Then, City Lord, we'll return. Although Elder Song also suspected that Yi Tianqing had been kidnapped, the possibility was very high. However, even if they knew that the City Lord had been kidnapped, there was nothing they could do. Unless they gave up on the City Lord, but they weren't strong enough to do so. None of them had reached the sovereign realm. On the other hand, Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong were both sovereign realm experts. 1,000 years ago, their strength was at the late sovereign realm. Even the City Lord, Yi Tianqing, was only at the mid-sovereign realm. A mid-sovereign realm expert wouldn't be able to deal with them, let alone a late sovereign realm expert. Not good, City Lord, the sea race is attacking the city. The entire chaotic astral ocean is under attack. At this moment, a guard hurriedly ran in. Yi Tianqing's eyes flashed. He had long known that the sea race was attacking the chaotic astral ocean. This was his plan. However, Yi Tianqing didn't know if this memory of his had been seen by Yang Hongwu. I know. You can leave first. Yi Tianqing waved his hand. After Yi Tianqing's people left, he said to Yang Hongwu, Young Master, now that the sea race is attacking the chaotic astral ocean, Tianxing City is in chaos. The entire chaotic astral ocean is in danger. I wonder if young master can help me protect Tianxing City? Yang Hongwu looked at him with a smile that wasn't a smile. The sea race is attacking? What's going on? Do you think I don't know what's going on? When Yi Tianxing heard this, he knew that his memory had been exposed. He felt helpless. Young master, then, what do you think we should do? Yi Tianxing looked at Yang Hongwu and asked. Yang Hongwu said, although I hate you alien races, for me, that's not the most important thing right now. What I want is the planar boat, so I won't leave it behind. As for the sea race, you have to find a way to make them leave. As for you, you have to follow me to the Black Fiend Abyss. Of course, if you don't want to, you know the consequences. Although Yi Tianxing was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. The Black Fiend Abyss. He had been there once and almost died there. This showed how terrifying the Black Fiend Abyss was. Although he had to go to the Black Fiend Abyss, he wasn't prepared yet. Originally, he wanted to wait until his cultivation base had broken through to the late sovereign realm before going to the Black Fiend Abyss. However, Yang Hongwu had planted a slave seal on him and he had become Yang Hongwu's servant. There was no way he could refuse unless he wanted to die. Yi Tianxing was the city lord of Tianxing City and the leader of the sea race. He had a high status, but he didn't expect to be reduced to a servant in his own territory. Okay, you go and deal with the sea race first. I don't want you to delay my plan. If my plan goes wrong and delays my time, then you can die. Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed with a cold light. The killing intent in his eyes was undisguised. Yi Tianxing nodded repeatedly. Don't worry, young master. This matter will be resolved soon. Chapter 1943. Don't worry, he won't dare. Yang Hongwu said confidently. Because Yi Tianxing had a slave seal planted by him, he wouldn't dare to disobey his orders. Once he disobeyed, he would be turned into ashes with just a thought. Since Yang Hongwu said so, he must be confident. Now, there were many treasures in Tianxing City. Especially the treasury of Tianxing City, which had been opened by Yang Hongwu. He had searched Yi Tianxing's memory and naturally knew the way to enter the treasury. Master, this is the treasury of Tianxing City. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. They didn't expect to actually reach the treasury of the Sky Star City. There were so many treasures that they were dazzled by. Among them, there were a total of 3 supreme treasures. 3 of them. These were the real supreme treasures. Even Yang Hongwu found it unbelievable that there were 3 supreme treasures in Tianxing City. Although they weren't supreme treasures, they weren't far from it. Take whatever you like. Yang Hongwu said to Pan and I and Anya Shen. Shanhai Guan Yu and Tai Tulong knew how important the 2 women were to Yang Hongwu. They didn't dare to snatch the treasures before the 2 women. If they dared to do so, Yang Hongwu would be furious. As for the 3 supreme treasures, Yang Hongwu had already grabbed them. I'll take this red caltrop. Anya Shen took a fancy to the red caltrop as if it was specially prepared for him. As for Pan and I, she shook her head and said, I don't want these 2 supreme treasures. Leave them to the other sisters. Pan and I knew that Yang Hongwu had many women and they weren't very strong. At least, before she met them, they weren't strong. Now, Yang Hongwu's cultivation was only at the Divine Emperor realm. The other women couldn't be stronger than Yang Hongwu. After all, they weren't as talented as Yang Hongwu, who could increase his cultivation without restraint. All right, I'll find a suitable one for you next time. Yang Hongwu said. You can choose from the rest. Since Yang Hongwu had taken the 3 supreme treasures, Yang Hongwu didn't care too much about the remaining items. Moreover, he knew that Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue wouldn't go overboard because they didn't want to offend Yang Hongwu. After all, Yang Hongwu was still their master, even Mountain Sea Watcher of the Moon. Although she was not controlled by Yang Hongwu, she had signed a contract. The two of them each chose a treasure and did not do anything else. As for the rest of the items, Yang Hongwu waved his hand and emptied the entire treasury. Shan Hai Guanyue and Tai Tulong were speechless. Both of them rejoiced. If Yang Hongwu had been like this in the past, they would have suffered a great loss. It was especially so for Shan Hai Guanyue. As for Tai Tulong, it didn't matter anymore. He couldn't even control his own life and death. The entire Iron Mountain City was no longer his. Even if the Iron Mountain City's treasury was emptied, it wouldn't make much of a difference to him. Let's go. Hold on. Yang Hongwu caught sight of a pearl in the corner of the treasury. Yang Hongwu was pleasantly surprised. This pearl looked like an ordinary rock, but was extremely unique. Most people wouldn't be able to tell, but Yang Hongwu could sense it. This pearl was actually a dragon pearl. Furthermore, at this moment, the Dragon Ball actually contained the power of creation. This was way too rare. A dragon pearl that contained the power of fortune was definitely extremely precious to Yang Hongwu. Just how strong was the owner of this dragon pearl? He must have reached the level of a half-step Dao Lord or even a Dao Lord. Protect me, Yang Hongwu said to the few of them. They nodded. Don't worry, young master. Tai Tulong said, with us around you can cultivate without worry. That's right. You can rest assured. Yang Hongwu nodded. Pan and I and Anya Shenv, on the other hand, were a little worried. After all, Tai Tulong and Shan Hai Guanyue weren't absolutely trustworthy people. Yang Hongwu sat down cross-legged and took out the devouring oven. The dragon pearl was instantly pulled into the devouring oven. This dragon pearl looked like a stone and was very ordinary. But in fact, this was because this dragon pearl was sealed. After the dragon pearl was pulled into the devouring oven, Yang Hongwu undid the seal. Before sending the dragon pearl into the devouring oven, he wouldn't take the risk of undoing the seal. This was because once the seal was undone, a terrifying power would erupt. At that time, it would be difficult for him to suppress it and send it into the devouring oven. That would take a lot of effort. In order to save time, Yang Hongwu naturally wouldn't do that. The moment the seal was undone, a dragon's roar could be heard. Within the devouring oven, the image of a huge dragon appeared. This huge dragon was filled with supreme power. The terrifying aura almost affected Yang Hongwu. Even the few people who were protecting Yang Hongwu outside trembled. This aura was too domineering and terrifying. Fortunately, this was within the devouring oven. The moment the dragon's aura erupted, the devouring oven began to suppress it. Yang Hongwu's 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique was circulated to the maximum. He crazily suppressed the huge dragon, forcefully suppressing it. This was just a Dragon Ball. If the owner of this Dragon Ball was still alive, then how terrifying and powerful would the other party be? A Dao Lord expert is really terrifying. The owner of this Dragon Pearl has definitely surpassed the Sovereign Realm. He's a Dao Lord expert. Even though Tai Tulong was known as the Dragon Slayer, he wouldn't even have the chance to escape if he were to face such a powerful being from the dragon race. Furthermore, the power that burst forth from this dragon pearl was something that even he could not suppress even at his peak. Only now did he truly see how strong and terrifying Yang Hongwu was. A Dao Lord's dragon pearl had been suppressed so easily. Yang Hongwu was simply too powerful. In fact, what they didn't know was that Yang Hongwu had the bloodline of dragons in his body. Moreover, it was a supreme bloodline. In addition, he cultivated the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique. This was the supreme cultivation technique of dragons. If he cultivated it to the maximum, his strength would reach an unimaginable level. Of course, whether he could surpass the Dao Lord realm was unknown. At this moment, after Yang Hongwu suppressed the Dragon Pearl, he began to devour the energy of the Dragon Pearl to raise his cultivation base. The devouring oven was operating to the maximum. Yang Hongwu's 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique was also operating crazily. Boom! Yang Hongwu's body trembled. The bottleneck in his body was broken instantly. His cultivation base rose and he entered the Emperor realm. Chapter 1944. His cultivation did not stop after breaking through to the Emperor realm. Instead, it continued to rise. At this moment, the sky above Tianxing City was filled with thunderbolts. Yang Hongwu's tribulation had arrived. The Emperor's tribulation. All the cultivators in Stellar Sky City were stunned. Who would be undergoing tribulation in this city? Moreover, this tribulation was extremely terrifying. It was so oppressive that it made it hard for people to breathe. Tai Tulong and the others were also shocked. How was this an emperor's tribulation? It was too terrifying. Even the tribulation of breaking through to the sovereign realm was far from reaching this level. However, as soon as Yang Hongwu retracted his aura, the oppressive aura disappeared instantly. The tribulation also lost its target and naturally dissipated. This made Shanhai Guanyue and the others even more shocked. One should know that once the tribulation was locked on, it would not dissipate unless the person undergoing the tribulation was dead. However, Yang Hongwu did it. After his aura disappeared, there was no way to sense it. This concealment technique was really too powerful. Of course, even though Shanhai Guanyue and Tai Tulong wanted to get their hands on such a heaven-defying concealment technique, they knew that this was Yang Hongwu's trump card. A secret technique like this wouldn't be handed over to others so easily. Perhaps this was Yang Hongwu's innate ability? Not long after, Yang Hongwu opened his eyes. His cultivation had not only broken through to the Emperor realm, but also reached the second level of the Emperor realm. The energy contained in this dragon pearl was indeed powerful. Yang Hongwu thought that breaking through to the first level of the Emperor realm would be his limit. However, he did not expect that he would break through the bottleneck of the first level of the Emperor realm. This was because he had entered the second level of the Emperor realm. This was too shocking. As expected of a Tao Lord Dragon Pearl, it was indeed powerful. Moreover, Yang Hongwu's cultivation did not only increase after obtaining this Dragon Pearl. He also obtained a part of the information in the Dragon Pearl. This part of the information was a secret technique and a map. This cultivation technique was the complete version of the art of dragon transformation. This cultivation technique was truly terrifying. Yang Hongwu had once obtained the art of dragon transformation. However, that art of dragon transformation wasn't complete. It was incomplete. Although it was still very powerful, it was still incomplete. It was limited and flawed. And now, the Omni Dragon's transformation art that he had obtained this time around was truly complete. As long as Yang Hongwu possessed sufficient strength and spirit power, he would be able to refine any item into a dragon and control it. With this cultivation technique, as long as one cultivated it to the peak, it would be equivalent to having an endless supply of servants and puppets. This was truly terrifying. Think about it. In battle, one could transform one's enemy into a dragon, turning it into one's own puppet servant. Then, one could turn the tables and attack one's enemy. How satisfying would that be? To one's enemy, this was definitely a terrifying and unimaginable thing. After opening his eyes, Yang Hongwu pointed with his finger. A half-step sovereign realm inner core instantly transformed into a dragon. This dragon's aura was powerful. Although it wasn't at the half-step sovereign realm, it was at the peak of the Emperor realm. This was because it was only one step away from the half-step sovereign realm. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes widened. What kind of secret technique was this? It was so terrifying that a single inner core could transform into a dragon. This kind of technique was simply unheard of. Could this be the legendary lost art of dragon transformation? After recovering from his shock, Mountain Sea Moon Watcher exclaimed in shock. Art of Dragon Transformation. This. Tai Tulong knew about it as well. Even though he had not thought of it earlier on, he was still shocked by Shan Hai Guanyue's reminder. Art of Dragon Transformation. This was a supreme secret skill that existed only in legends. Who would have thought that they would see it in Yang Hongwu's hands? What was his background? He even cultivated the art of dragon transformation. This was too shocking. That's right. Yang Hongwu nodded and didn't hide it. This is the art of dragon transformation. After receiving a confirmation, both of them saw the shock in each other's eyes. Could Yang Hongwu be the illegitimate son of the great Tao? With such terrifying talent, endless trump cards, and numerous treasures, this definitely wasn't something that an ordinary person could possess. Perhaps even Tao Lord Zhiga's disciple didn't have so many treasures, nor such a terrifying secret technique. In fact, the art of dragon transformation wasn't something that just anyone could cultivate. Although this technique was powerful, it required certain conditions to cultivate. First, it required the bloodline of dragons. Moreover, it couldn't be weak. Next, it required one's spiritual power. It needed to be far stronger than other martial artists of the same realm. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible to use it. Yi Tianxing is back. Yang Hongwu said, "We should go to the Black Fiend Abyss." Not long after Yang Hongwu finished speaking, Yi Tianxing had indeed returned. At this moment, seeing that his treasury had been opened, Yi Tianxing knew that things weren't good. The things he had collected for a long time couldn't be protected. He was pained, but there was nothing he could do about it. He didn't dare to be dissatisfied with Yang Hongwu, nor did he dare to say anything. He only hoped that Yang Hongwu had left something behind for him. However, this possibility wasn't high. "Have you dealt with the matter?" Yang Hongwu asked casually. "Yes, young master. It's been dealt with. The Sea tribe has retreated." Yi Tianxing said. "That's good. We should also go to the Black Fiend Abyss. Isn't the information you want about the Sky Demon Dao sword also in the Black Fiend Abyss? As long as I get what I want, I'll set all of you free." Yang Hongwu's words weren't just for Yi Tianxing. He wasn't talking to Yi Tianxing, but to Shan Hai Guanyue, Tai Tulong, and Yi Tianxing. Is young master speaking the truth? Yi Tianxing was pleasantly surprised. He naturally didn't want to be controlled by Yang Hongwu. It would be best if he could regain his freedom. After all, who would want to be controlled by someone else without freedom? It was too unpleasant. Tai Tulong and Shan Hai Guanyue felt the same. However, Tai Tulong didn't think that Yang Hongwu would let them go so easily. After all, their strength was there. Who would let such powerful servants go so easily? Once Tai Tulong's control was released, he might even turn from a servant to a slave. No powerful enemy would be so foolish. Of course, to Tai Tulong, even if he regained his freedom, he would never attack Yang Hongwu again. Yang Hongwu's strength was too frightening. He even suspected that the strength Yang Hongwu had shown them was only at the beginning of the battle. Chapter 1945. I always keep my word. As long as I get what I want, I will set you free. Yang Hongwu said indifferently. To him, it was good to have a few powerful servants. However, he couldn't send them into the inner world, the common people's great world, and he couldn't bring them into the deity domain. After all, even if he got the dimensional boat, he would have to pay a huge price to bring the dimensional boat and 3 sovereign realm martial artists to the deity domain. It would be huge and unbearable. Of course, there was another option, which was to make them his son Yang Tianjun's servants. However, the current Yang Tianjun was still too weak. Yang Hongwu did not think that Yang Tianjun would be able to control them. Since he could not control them, if he couldn't, then there was no need. Otherwise, he would be asking for trouble. Once they were out of his control, Yang Tianjun would be in danger. Then I'll thank young master first. Yi Tianxing was overjoyed. Since Yang Hongwu had said so, then he had no reason to go back on his words. With his cultivation base at such a level, he naturally wouldn't go against his words easily. However, Yi Tianxing definitely didn't dare to let Yang Hongwu make any promises or make any vows. That would be courting death. Yi Tianxing was actually an old fox. He naturally wouldn't do such a stupid thing to anger Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu was also clear about this. If this guy wasn't useful to him, he would have directly thrown him to Shanhai Guanyue to deal with. He believed that Shanhai Guanyue didn't have any good feelings towards Yi Tianxing. However, Yang Hongwu's previous promise made Shanhai Guanyue slightly dissatisfied. After all, Yang Hongwu had already promised to hand Yi Tianxing over to him. Now, he didn't. Moreover, Yang Hongwu actually promised Yi Tianxing that as long as he got the dimensional boat, the planar boat had let Yi Tianxing go. Of course, Mountain Sea Guanyue was displeased. This was nothing to Yang Hongwu. Even if he knew, it didn't matter. Young master, are we going to the Black Fiend Abyss now? At this time, the Black Fiend Abyss was at its most dangerous. The fiendish aura was at its most terrifying. Once one entered, it was very likely that they would be affected by the fiendish aura, leading to the birth of heart demons and becoming a demon. Tai Tulong hesitated for a moment before replying. How could they not be clear about the terror of the Black Fiend Abyss? Tai Tulong said this because he wanted Yang Hongwu to reconsider. After all, the Black Fiend Abyss was too terrifying, and this was the time when it was the scariest. If not for the special circumstances, no one would choose to enter the Black Fiend Abyss at this time. I don't have that much time, Yang Hongwu said coldly. You can choose not to go. Yang Hongwu's words infuriated him. Tai Tulong was no fool. Since Yang Hongwu had said so, he had no other choice. If he dared to say another word, his life would be over. No, it's my honor to work for young master. Tai Tulong hurriedly explained, I'm just worried about young master's safety. Although the Black Fiend Abyss is dangerous, it shouldn't be too difficult for young master. Does anyone else have any objections? Yang Hongwu looked at them coldly. The three shook their heads. As for Pan and I and Anya Shenv, they naturally wouldn't object. They obeyed Yang Hongwu's every word. His words and orders were carried out without hesitation. Since there are no objections, let's go. After Yang Hongwu finished speaking, the group left Tianxing City. They boarded the Mountain Sea vessel and arrived at the small island with the ancient teleportation array. Seeing the array here, Yi Tianxing couldn't help but sigh. If he had destroyed the array here back then, this wouldn't have happened. However, it was too late for regret. Now that he had become Yang Hongwu's servant, his life and death were in his hands. Now, the only thing he could do was hope that this trip to the Black Fiend Abyss would be safe and sound. The last fragment of the planar vessel would leave this place safely. Once it left this place safely, it would be free. When he returned to Tianxing City, he would definitely destroy all the teleportation arrays. Once he destroyed them, no one would be able to threaten him. In the chaotic astral ocean, no one was his opponent. The reason why the chaotic astral ocean was divided into 4 factions was because he didn't want to expose his identity. But now, his identity had already been exposed. Therefore, he arrived at the chaotic astral ocean. At that time, he would no longer have any hesitation. Since he had already been exposed, how could the chaotic astral ocean still be controlled by others? Therefore, when he left, he had already given orders to his subordinate. After they left, they would immediately launch an attack and take control of the entire ocean. Of course, the teleportation arrays would also be destroyed. If the teleportation arrays weren't destroyed, they would still be a huge threat to him if they continued to teleport. As for himself, returning to the chaotic astral ocean wasn't difficult at all. After all, he also belonged to the Sea Clan. With the help of the Sea Clan's power, he could easily return to the chaotic astral ocean. These calculations were nothing in Yang Hongwu's eyes. In the face of absolute strength, all calculations were false. How could Yi Tianxing hide his thoughts from Yang Hongwu? He just didn't point it out. After all, the most important thing for him wasn't these, but returning to the divine realm. Now that he didn't know the situation in the divine realm, he was very worried about it. After all, the possibility that the so-called demon lord of the divine realm was Zi Tian was too high. And Zi Tian hated him to the bone. Of course, it was impossible for him to let go of his woman. Once he caught her, it would be a terrible disaster. If that wasn't the case, Yang Hongwu wouldn't be in such a hurry to go back. If it wasn't for his lack of strength, he would have chosen to directly use the void travel secret technique to teleport to the divine realm. However, the price of that was too high. If he used it rashly, not only would it be possible for him to teleport to the divine realm, but he also wasn't strong enough. Chapter 1946. One day later, the group of people finally passed through the teleportation array and stepped onto an ancient mountain. This ancient mountain was the only path to the Black Fiend Abyss. At the foot of the mountain was an ancient town. Anyone who wanted to enter Black Fiend Abyss would first set up camp in this town. This town was called Black Fiend Town. The town wasn't big, but there were many experts here. As soon as Yang Hongwu entered the town, he felt several powerful auras. There were multiple hegemons present, and the most powerful of them had most likely reached the half-step Daolord level of power. This man was the strongest person Yang Hongwu had met since he had entered the Heavenly Span continent. One could only imagine how strong he was. Young master, there are many experts in Black Fiend Town, especially the mayor. Rumor has it that his strength is infinitely close to the Tao Lord realm. He's very terrifying, Tai Tulong said beside Yang Hongwu. He was worried that Yang Hongwu would be so unscrupulous here. If he offended the mayor of Black Fiend Town, he would be in big trouble. In fact, there were all kinds of people in the Black Evil Town. However, no one dared to cause trouble here because of this reason. The strength of the Black Evil Town was too strong. Those who had caused trouble in the Black Evil Town were all dead. Oh, he's so powerful. I'm curious. If there's a chance, I'd like to pay him a visit. Yang Hongwu said with a faint smile. Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyu were shocked when they heard Yang Hongwu's words. Could it be that they had overreached themselves? If that was the case, it would be troublesome. After all, he just wanted to remind Yang Hongwu not to be too ostentatious in Black Fiend Town. If Yang Hongwu was interested, it would be bad. Black Fiend Town's strength was absolutely terrifying. In Tongtian continent, there were very few forces that could contend with Black Fiend Town. Many experts even wanted to join Black Fiend Town. However, Black Fiend Town didn't accept outsiders. That was why Black Fiend Town hadn't changed much. If Black Fiend Town had the intention to expand its power, it would have become one of the strongest forces in Tongtian continent. They looked at each other, hoping that Yang Hongwu wouldn't be so bold. If he really offended the people of Black Fiend Town, his life would be in danger, let alone going to Black Fiend Abyss to search for the fragments of the planar boat. If young master wants to go to Black Fiend Abyss to search for the fragments of the planar boat as soon as possible, it's best not to provoke the people of Black Fiend Town. Although I know that young master is strong, it's better to avoid trouble, Yi Tianxing said. Yang Hongwu smiled and said, I know that. Don't worry, I don't want to waste too much time. I'm just saying, but Yang Hongwu paused and said, sometimes we can't do whatever we want. Even if I don't find trouble with others, someone will come knocking on my door. What? Yi Tianxing and the others didn't understand. Not long after Yang Hongwu finished speaking, someone came forward to greet them. These people didn't seem to have come with good intentions. Moreover, from their clothes, it was obvious that they were from Black Fiend Town because they were wearing the guard uniform of Black Fiend Town. The leader of the group wasn't weak. He was a first-layer sovereign. Although he couldn't compare to Tai Tulong and the others, he definitely wasn't weak. One had to know that there were only so many sovereigns in the entire Skyspan continent. There were more than 10,000 cities in the Skyspan continent, but there were only 3,000 or so cities with sovereigns. Therefore, there were only a few thousand sovereigns in the entire Skyspan continent. Most of them were only early-stage sovereigns. As for mid-stage sovereigns, there were only a few hundred of them. Of course, there were even fewer late-stage sovereigns, less than 100 of them. Therefore, Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyue could definitely be considered experts. As for half-step Dao Lords, there were only a dozen or so of them. As for why Iron Mountain City and Shanghai City couldn't become one of the major cities, it was because they had too few experts. Black Fiend Town, which looked like a small town, had a half-step Dao Lord overseeing it. Including the sovereigns, there were a dozen or so people. Therefore, Black Fiend Town could definitely be ranked in the top 10 in the Skyspan continent. These are Black Fiend Town's guards. Shanhai Guanyue's expression changed. The guards of Black Evil Town would not appear under normal circumstances, unless there was a special situation, or when someone was causing trouble in Black Evil Town, they would appear. However, this time, they appeared as soon as they entered the town. Could it be that they were here for them? If that was the case, they were in trouble. "Come with me. My young master wants to see you," said the leader, Heiyuni. They were Black Fiend Town's guards, and Heiyuni was their captain. He was a first-stage sovereign. He did not understand why his young master wanted to find these people. In comparison, these people were not weak at all. There were at least 3 people who were stronger than him. 2 of them were definitely mid-stage sovereigns, and they might even be late-stage sovereigns. In that case, they were extremely powerful. Unless the old master made a move, no one would be a match for them. Furthermore, the old master was in seclusion all day long. He wouldn't come out of seclusion easily. If they caused trouble, they would probably be scolded by the old master. However, since their young master had spoken, they didn't dare to disobey. "Who's your young master?" Tai Tulong asked. "My young master is the young master of Black Fiend Town. He wants to see you." "If you don't go, don't blame us for being impolite," said Heiyuni. He spoke with confidence. After all, no matter who it was, they had to obey the rules of Black Fiend Town. No one dared to act presumptuously in Black Fiend Town unless they weren't in Black Fiend Town. These people had probably come to Black Fiend Town to go to the Black Fiend Abyss. To go to the Black Fiend Abyss, one had to pass through Black Fiend Town. Otherwise, it was impossible to enter the Black Fiend Abyss. He was well aware of this point. Chapter 1947. Impolite? I'd like to see how impolite you are. Yang Hongwu said coldly. He didn't care. Although he didn't want to waste time and trouble, the problem now was that the other party had already come to find him. Even if he didn't want trouble, would the other party not come looking for trouble? Obviously, they had come prepared. Moreover, they didn't come with good intentions. Heiyuni's face sank when he heard Yang Hongwu's words. He stared at him and said, "You dare to refuse? Do you know the consequences of offending my young master? This is Black Evil Town. It's not a place where you can act impudently. My young master wants to meet you. This is giving you face. If you don't know what's good for you, my young master will get angry. Once he gets angry, you won't be able to bear the consequences." Heiyuni didn't expect the other party to be so impudent and not put them in his eyes. How could Heiyuni tolerate this? Even if he knew that the other party was strong and not to be trifled with, he still couldn't bear it. In Black Evil Town, who dared to be so impudent? Everyone had to be respectful to them. Who dared to be so arrogant and not put them in their eyes? Heiyuni, who was used to hearing flattery and being flattered, was naturally very unhappy when he suddenly heard someone threatening him. "Are you threatening me?" Yang Hongwu looked at them coldly. It wasn't just Yang Hongwu, even Tai Tulong and the others felt very uncomfortable. After all, they weren't weak. Each of them was much stronger than Heiyuni. Naturally, they wouldn't be happy to be threatened by someone with a lower cultivation level. So what if I'm threatening you? Heiyuni said coldly. Could it be that you dare to be impudent in Black Evil Town? Yang Hongwu's eyes shot out a cold light. A terrifying killing intent instantly shrouded Heiyuni. Yang Hongwu's 10-direction killing fist had reached the pinnacle. It could be said that its power was boundless. The killing intent on his body burst out, making people feel as if they had fallen into an endless purgatory. Such a terrifying killing intent was too terrifying. In that instant, Heiyuni felt as if he had been frozen by the killing intent, making it difficult for him to breathe. Terrifying. Where did this person come from? How many people did he kill? He actually has such a terrifying killing intent. Looking at his cultivation realm, he's only an initial sovereign realm cultivator. A mere initial sovereign realm cultivator can actually make me, a dignified sovereign realm expert, feel the threat of death. How terrifying is this? Edited by Lifer and Fingerfox. At this moment, he even had a premonition that Luo Yunyang would really dare to kill him. Thinking of this, Heiyuni took a deep breath and suppressed the fear in his heart. He looked at Yang Hongwu and said, "This is Black Fiend Town. If you dare to make a move, you won't be able to walk out of here. Young master, let me kill him. This bastard is too despicable. So what if it's Black Fiend Town? Even if we're not a match for the old ancestor of Black Fiend Town, it's still not a problem for us to escape from here." Tai Tulong felt Yang Hongwu's killing intent. Combining it with his observation of Yang Hongwu, he knew that Yang Hongwu was not the kind of person who would be threatened or compromised. Once he was enraged, the consequences would be unimaginable. Coincidentally, this guard captain of Black Fiend Town dared to be so presumptuous and threaten him. Therefore, Yang Hongwu would definitely not let him off easily. Once they made a move, they would definitely go against Black Fiend Town. Since they knew that they would go against each other, they might as well make the first move and seize the opportunity. How dare you? Hearing this, Heiyuni and the others acted as if they were facing a great enemy. Each of them took out their weapons and stared at Yang Hongwu's group, fearing that they would attack. These people were truly audacious. To think that they would dare to act so presumptuously in Black Fiend Town. It was as if they did not put Black Fiend Town in their eyes at all. There were only two kinds of people who would dare to do such a thing. One was a fool who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. The other was someone who had absolute strength and could go against Black Fiend Town. The first possibility was actually not very big, because they knew Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyu. These two experts had been here before and knew each other. Since the first possibility was not the case, there was only the second possibility. The other party was extremely powerful, and was not afraid of Black Fiend Town at all. It could be seen that the young man in this group was the one who could make the decision. For such a person to be able to have experts like Tai Tulong and Shanhai Guanyu as his followers, it could be seen how powerful and terrifying his background was. This time around, the young master's actions might have brought trouble to Black Fiend Town. If the old master knew about it, the young master's status might be stripped away. Young master? Tai Tulong looked at Yang Hongwu, waiting for his order. As long as Yang Hongwu gave the order, he would immediately attack and kill these guards. To him, among these people, other than Heiyuni, the others would not be able to withstand a single blow. As for Heiyuni, although his strength was not bad and he had reached the sovereign realm, he was still an early sovereign. It would not be difficult for him to kill him. Even though Tai Tulong had not recovered to his peak, he had recovered his strength to the 6th layer of sovereign realm. He was only a step away from the 7th layer of sovereign realm. It was naturally not difficult for a peak 6th layer sovereign to deal with an early sovereign realm cultivator. Moreover, he had 2 other sovereign realm experts with him. One was Shanhai Guanyue, who was on par with him, and the other was Yi Tianxing, who was not weak either. If the 3 of them worked together, it would only take a few breaths to kill these people. Yang Hongwu raised his hand, indicating for Tai Tulong to step back. He then looked at He Yuni and said, "Go back and tell your young master that I have no interest in him. I don't have the time to play with him. Tell him not to provoke me. If he doesn't know what's good for him, I will let him know what true fear is. Don't think that you can act recklessly just because you have a half-step Dao Lord in Black Fiend Town. To me, a half-step Dao Lord is nothing." He Yuni listened carefully and thought to himself, "This kid really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. What did a half-step Dao Lord mean? They were existences that stood at the pinnacle of the heaven-span continent. Those who could contend against them were half-step Dao Lords. It could be said that they were invincible in the heaven-span continent. Although there were differences in strength between half-step Dao Lords, it was absolutely impossible for them to kill each other. As for existences beyond half-step Dao Lords, it was impossible for them to exist in the heaven-span continent. This kid actually dared to say such a thing. He was simply too arrogant. Although he was angry, he also knew that he was not a match for them. Looking at Yang Hongwu's eyes, he was afraid that Yang Hongwu would really kill him if he said too much. Chapter 1948. Bah, who do you think you are? How dare you threaten my young master? You must be tired of living, Tai Tulong scolded. Let's go to the Black Fiend Abyss, Yang Hongwu said to Tai Tulong and the others. Yang Hongwu wasn't familiar with Black Fiend Town, but Tai Tulong and the other 2 couldn't be more familiar with it. This wasn't the first time they had been here. Under the guidance of the 3, the group quickly arrived at the entrance to the Black Fiend Abyss. There was a powerful formation restriction at the entrance. The purpose of the formation restriction was to prevent the fiendish qi inside from escaping. This was because the fiendish qi was very fatal to ordinary warriors. If they came into contact with it for a long time, they could easily go berserk and fall into the demonic path. They would become killing machines and lose their sense of self. In fact, the old ancestor of Black Fiend Town had established Black Fiend Town to prevent the fiendish aura from spreading out from the Black Fiend Abyss. Once the fiendish qi from the Black Fiend Abyss spread out, it would lead to terrible consequences. When that happened, the entire Tongtian continent would be doomed. Rumor had it that the fiendish qi in the Black Fiend Abyss came from a demon king that had been killed by Dao Lord Zhiga. After the demon king's death, its resentment condensed and formed the terrifying Black Fiend Abyss. In this Black Fiend Abyss, although danger lurked everywhere, there were also great opportunities. If someone could find the location of the demon monarch, it was possible to obtain the inheritance and treasures of the demon monarch. For any warrior, this was a great opportunity. This was a great temptation. After all, the demon king wasn't an ordinary warrior, but a Dao Lord expert. Even if he was a demonic cultivator, he was still a great temptation to any warrior. As a cultivator, their goal was to increase their cultivation base, break through their limits, and enter a higher realm of cultivation. The demon king's strength was extraordinary. He was a Dao Lord. How valuable would the treasures left behind by a Dao Lord be? Because of this, although the Black Fiend Abyss was full of danger, and those who entered could be said to have a slim chance of survival, they could not resist the temptation of treasures. Countless cultivators entered the Black Fiend Abyss one after another in search of opportunities. It was rumored that the owner of the dimensional boat had entered the Black Fiend Abyss in search of the inheritance treasure of the innate demon king. However, due to his lack of strength and bad luck, he had perished in the Black Fiend Abyss. It was also because of this that the planar arc was destroyed and split into 3 pieces. In Black Fiend Town, there were people guarding the entrance to the Black Fiend Abyss. They were the strongest guards in Black Fiend Town, the Black Fiend Guard. The Black Fiend Guards were the strongest force in Black Fiend Town. The person in charge of the Black Fiend Guard was the Patriarch of Black Fiend Town. No one knew his true name, but he had already reached the half-step Dowlord level of power. People called him the Black Fiend Patriarch. It was rumored that this person could devour baleful aura to cultivate. To others, the Black Fiend Abyss was a terrifying place, but to him, it was a cultivation treasure land. However, even an expert like him could not find the inheritance of the innate Demon King and obtain the supreme treasure of the innate Demon King. It was even more difficult for others. Of course, it did not mean that others could not find it just because half-step Dowlords could not. In fact, although this was related to cultivation to a certain extent, it was not absolute. Any treasure, any opportunity, all depended on the situation. If the opportunity came and the luck was there, then the treasure would naturally be there. In fact, everyone was guessing that the innate Demon King was waiting for the fated person to come. Of course, there were also people who said that the innate Demon King was not dead at all and was only sealed. After all, a Dowlord was too powerful and too difficult to kill. Therefore, it was very likely that Dowlord Jiga had sealed him here, in the Black Fiend Abyss. If someone really found the innate Demon King, it meant that the seal was broken. At that time, the innate Demon King would be born, and the entire Skyspan continent would be finished. Even the Jiga Shrine would be destroyed. All of this was just everyone's guess. No one knew what the real situation was or what the truth was. Perhaps only the master of Black Fiend Town, the Black Fiend Patriarch, knew some secrets. However, no one dared to ask the Patriarch. Even if someone did, they might not get the answer they wanted. Stop! Seeing Yang Hongwu's group, the Black Fiend Guard coldly called out and blocked their path. Gentlemen, my young master wants to enter the Black Fiend Abyss. Please make it convenient for him. Yi Tianxing walked in front to clear the way. These small matters were naturally handled by them. It was impossible for Yang Hongwu to do it himself. Otherwise, they would have to deal with it. What were these people doing? Therefore, these trivial matters did not require Yang Hongwu's instructions. Tai Tulong and Yi Tianxing did it on their own accord. As for Shanhai Guanyue, being a woman, she was naturally different. The two did not have any objections. No. The Patriarch has ordered that no one is allowed to enter the Black Fiend Abyss for 3 months. Anyone who dares to barge in is an enemy of Black Fiend Town, the leader of the Black Fiend Guard said. His expression was solemn and his tone was cold. There was no room for negotiation. Suddenly, what? Tai Tulong and Yi Tianxing's expressions darkened. Yang Hongwu's eyes flashed coldly. If anyone tried to stop him from entering the Black Fiend Abyss to find the planar boat, they would be his enemy. An enemy that would not rest until one of them was dead. Why can't we enter? We have important matters to attend to and have no choice but to enter. Please make an exception. Tai Tulong was being polite, not because of the people in front of him, but because of the Patriarch. After all, the Patriarch was a half-step Dowlord. It could be said that he stood at the very peak of the Skyspan continent. They were far from being a match for him. No. This is an order. The Black Fiend Guard didn't give them any face. You really can't? Tai Tulong said coldly. If you can't, then we'll have to force our way in. How dare you? Are you trying to make an enemy of Black Fiend Town? You're strong, but this is Black Fiend Town, the Black Fiend Guard said coldly. Provoking Black Fiend Town is making an enemy of the Patriarch. You should think about the consequences. A group of people suddenly appeared in the distance, clustered around a youth. The youth's face was like jade, and he was incomparably handsome. He was also quite strong, having reached the ruler realm. Chapter 1949. Hey Tian. Tai Tulong squinted his eyes. This guy was the young lord of Black Evil Town, Hey Tian. Hey Tian's strength wasn't weak, but compared to Tai Tulong and the rest, he was still lacking. However, He Tian should have a powerful trump card. After all, he was the young lord of Black Evil Town. It was impossible that the Black Evil Patriarch didn't leave a life-saving trump card on him. Who are you people? How dare you be so arrogant in my Black Evil Town? One of He Tian's followers looked at Yang Hongwu and the rest and scolded in an arrogant tone. You're He Tian, the young lord of Black Evil Town? Yang Hongwu looked at him and asked, Who are you? How dare you speak to my young lord in such a manner? How dare you call him by his name? The follower was furious when he saw that Yang Hongwu didn't answer his question and instead called his young lord by his name. He pointed at Yang Hongwu. A cold light flashed in Yang Hongwu's eyes. A ray of sword light shot out from his eyes and cut off the follower's head. He Tian and the rest were enraged when they saw this. You're courting death. This person actually dared to kill his subordinate right in front of him. That was a provocation to him. Go, kill him for us. He Tian pointed at Yang Hongwu and roared in anger. Following He Tian's order, everyone rushed forward. However, Yang Hongwu and the rest weren't afraid at all. Tai Tulong and the rest were the same. In their eyes, they weren't afraid of the people in front of them. There was only one person who could make them worry, and that was the true master of Black Evil Town, the Black Evil Patriarch. As for the others, they didn't care at all. Young master, let us deal with these minions, Tai Tulong said. That's right, young master. These small fries don't need to be dealt with by the few of us. Yi Tianxing nodded. How arrogant! He Tian was furious. He knew these people and knew their strength. However, he didn't expect them to be so arrogant and impudent. They didn't put him in their eyes at all. How could he not be angry? This is my Black Fiend Town. How dare you act so presumptuously in my Black Fiend Town? If I want you to die, all of you will die. He Tian roared furiously. With a wave of his hand, a gigantic illusory figure appeared. This illusory figure contained a terrifying aura. It was definitely the aura of a pinnacle sovereign. Black Fiend Demonic Spirit. That's a Black Fiend Demonic Spirit. You guys sure have some guts. To think that you would even dare to refine a Black Fiend Demonic Spirit. That's a crime against the entire world. Looking at that horrifying illusory figure, the faces of Tai Tulong and the others changed. The aura of this thing was too terrifying. Of course, they had seen it before. It was the most terrifying existence in the Black Fiend Abyss. Back then, these Black Fiend demonic spirits had killed countless experts. They were from all the major forces. Now, Black Fiend Town dared to commit such a crime and even have a Black Fiend demonic spirit. How could they not be shocked? Moreover, this Black Fiend demonic spirit was obviously controlled by He Tian. If this news were to spread out, it would be a disaster. Could this Black Fiend demonic spirit be controlled by Black Fiend Town? Everyone knew that the owner of Black Fiend Town, the Black Fiend Old Ancestor, could devour evil aura. He could do whatever he wanted in the Black Fiend Abyss without any restrictions. More importantly, he could use the evil aura to cultivate. In other words, there were too few people in the Black Fiend Abyss who could go against the Black Fiend Old Ancestor. Even a half-step Dao Lord expert couldn't go against the Black Fiend Old Ancestor. Now that the Black Fiend Old Ancestor and the others had control over the Black Fiend demonic spirit, who else in the sky-reaching continent could be a match for the Black Fiend Old Ancestor? The people of Black Fiend Town were very clear about this. Naturally, the Black Fiend Old Ancestor was even more clear about this. However, this time, He Tian was infuriated. That was why he revealed such a trump card, the Black Fiend Demonic Spirit. Now that the secret of the Black Fiend Demonic Spirit had been exposed, it couldn't be leaked out. Therefore, he had to keep everyone in front of him here. He couldn't let them leave. At this moment, He Tian also realized his mistake. He was infuriated and lost his mind. However, it was only now that he regained his senses. Since this matter couldn't be changed, he could only try his best to make up for it. After the Black Fiend demonic spirit appeared, it was very aggressive and powerful. Yi Tianxing blocked the Black Fiend guards alone, while Tai Tulong and Shan Hai Guanyu blocked the Black Fiend demonic spirit. At this moment, their strength hadn't fully recovered. Therefore, they needed 2 people to fight against the Black Fiend demonic spirit. Fortunately, they weren't in the Black Fiend abyss, so there wasn't such a terrifying murderous aura. Otherwise, the strength of the Black Fiend demonic spirit would be even more terrifying. However, even without the enhancement of the evil aura, the Black Fiend demonic spirit's strength was still quite formidable. Tai Tulong and Shan Hai Guanyu joined forces and barely managed to resist it. Formation, activate! He Tian shouted. The entire Black Fiend town was shrouded in a layer of light curtain. The formation of Black Fiend town was activated. This was the reason why He Tian wanted to seal off Black Fiend town. He couldn't let Yang Hongwu and the others escape because he knew that if Yang Hongwu and the others escaped, the fact that Black Fiend Town could control the Black Fiend demonic spirit would be exposed. Once that was exposed, it would be troublesome. Yang Hongwu looked at his actions with disdain. He didn't know how terrifying Yang Hongwu's attainments in formations were. A mere formation was nothing in Yang Hongwu's eyes. Not to mention the defensive formation of Black Fiend Town, even the more powerful sealing formation of Black Fiend Abyss couldn't withstand a single blow from Yang Hongwu. Of course, He Tian didn't know this. At this moment, the Black Fiend demonic spirit was entangled with Tai Tulong and Shan Hai Guanyu, while Yi Tianxing was held back by the Black Fiend guard. Yang Hongwu, Pan and the other 2 were different. Their strength was only SOSO, and they hadn't even reached the sovereign realm. Therefore, he wasn't afraid at all. Kid, it's your turn now. You deserve to die, do you know that? In fact, the reason why Erebus wanted to stop Yang Hongwu and the others was because he had sensed the aura of the creation realm. He had a treasure-seeking medallion, which could detect the aura of creation realm supreme treasures. Yang Hongwu naturally had a creation supreme treasure on him. His aura was detected by He Tian's treasure-seeking token. In fact, this treasure-seeking token was obtained by the Black Fiend Patriarch in order to find the supreme treasure of the Sky Fiend Demon King. This time, He Tian felt the creation supreme treasure on Yang Hongwu and the others. Of course, he wouldn't let it go. Therefore, he sent people to stop Yang Hongwu and the others. However, he didn't expect that Yang Hongwu wouldn't give him any face. This made He Tian furious. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.